hard to do this. What's up, everybody? Kyle the Drink Pro here with you yet again. Thank you all so much for being here. It does mean the world to me that people join these streams and want to tune in and want to be a part of something I tried to create. I've got kind of a heavy heart tonight. I've been toying with the idea of stopping the channel for a long time. It just really became more important than the spirits and more important than the friends and the connections. And, you got to know when it's time. So it's time. But tonight, I've got a fun one for us. Here in front of me are 5 different glasses of municipal water. Now, I said municipal water. That's not true. They're each different kinds of water. This one you'll notice is empty. That's because I kind of want to do the reveal. It's a very special water for number 5. But, it just felt like the right way to go out. It felt like the right way to do this, man. Just go out with a bang with some high-quality H2O. So the first one I've got here is standard filtered water. Now, I've run this through a Brita filter one time. It's Indianapolis municipal water, 1 Brita filter run. The second one is just straight-up municipal water. No Brita filter, no modifications. It is what you get straight from the tap here in Indianapolis in a home that's over 100 years old. So probably some heavy metals in that one. Gonna be fun. Oh, and that's worth mentioning also. The first one, I used a filter that specifically removes heavy metals. Not all Brita filters do that, so that's an important detail you should watch out for if you're using water that may be contaminated with heavy metals. The third one is actually distilled water. It is the high-quality Meyer brand distilled water. What's up, everybody? We got Bourbon Baller in the chat. We got Mike McAllister in the chat. We got Hop Kennel in the chat from the Drink Pro to the Water Boy. I'm trying not to go out and play foosball with my friends. The fourth glass here, the rabbit hole glass, is actually LaCroix Pure that has been decarbonated. From the Bobby Boucher, that's right. What's up, Nate? Number 4 is LaCroix Pure. Now, LaCroix Pure on the bottle here says only carbonated water, which says to me that once I remove the carbonation, should be just water. Now, this part here, this is still carbonated, but this one shouldn't be. This is just the taste of LaCroix Pure. Oh, I'm excited for this one, guys. I'm excited for this one. So this is the final water. Oh, shit. Well, it wouldn't be a Drink Pro stream if I didn't drop something. That was my mouse hitting the floor. This, my friends, is my mini barrel. I've aged a lot of fun stuff in here. And today, I have barrel-aged filtered water. You have to take the bung hole out, and yes, that is the technical term, so that it will pour out of this spout here. I'm going to try to get it to pour on camera because the color of this is something I'm very curious about. There it goes. Oh, yeah. Look at that. That'll be something special, guys. Holy shit. What a way to go out, am I right? What a way to do it. What a way to go out. Okay. That, my friend, is high quality, 0 proof. You can't beat that. You can't shake a stick at that. All right, so let's get into this a little bit, guys. I've got 5 different waters. Let's You know, why delay it? We're here to celebrate the end of the channel. Let's fucking make it happen. Okay. That was probably a little loud. Sorry about that. I'm still, I never got a hold of the right microphone levels. I'm just missing out like that. Okay, here we go. We got Bourbon of the Week. What's up, my brother? We got World Class Sustenance. What's up? I tell you what. Now, this is the filtered water. Dusty Dan's here, watching this wonderful water review. This filtered water is really, it just has no nose on it at all. It smells like, oh shit, it smells like nothing. And that's really what you want, I think, from a good water, much like a good vodka. No odor is a really high quality sign. Now this second one here, the municipal water, ooh, you can smell the chemicals. Very distinct chlorine. It definitely smells like a public pool. It's very chemically, but it's also very mineral forward. You can tell it's hard water. There's definitely some calcium in this. Nate doesn't like my video. What else is new? He never likes my videos. You can really smell the chemicals and the calcium in that. My goodness. Okay, number 3. I'm just doing the noses across the board, and then we're gonna go into the palate on this. I'm excited about this one, guys. This is a fun video. Trevor, Mike McAllister has a question for you. You should answer him. This one, this distilled water also has no scent to it. I'm actually a little surprised by that because I always find distilled water has a really distinct, unpleasant profile on the palate. So I'm wondering if doing them in a lineup like this, right, really show me. No refunds, Trevor. You know, the palate. Okay. Oh wow, now that surprises me too. So the only one that's really given me any notes on the nose has been the municipal water. The distilled water, I got nothing, which I was expecting to get something because it always smells funny compared to the filtered water. And the LaCroix Pure didn't give me anything either on the nose. Now this one, this bad motherfucker, this barrel-aged water that's been aging for at least 2 weeks in this barrel. Oh, it smells beautiful, guys. I wish you could smell this. I wish we had smell-o-vision. It's sweet. It's, sweet caramel honey. Slight oakiness. Oh, I want to taste it so bad, but I'm gonna hold myself back. Okay, let's run through the palate on these. Dusty Dan knows what's up with the distilled water. There's something wrong with it. Yolanda will only drink distilled water. She hates all of her waters, and I do not get it. Because to me, distilled water is terrible. Randy Miller, on my nose is a bunch of lies that this is it. Smells horrible. All right, now let's taste this is the filtered water. Sorry, filtered water. Very little flavor. You do get a slight minerality, though. The filter doesn't take out everything. I don't buy the kinds of filters that make it zero water or whatever the fuck they're called. So this one's going to take out the heavy metals. It's going to take out the chlorine, a lot of the chemicals. It will take out some of the calcium, some of the minerality, but there's a touch left. So it does actually still feel kind of like spring water that you get from a bottle. Number 2, this is the tap water. Oh, it does not smell good. Bourbon Ball has got that Aquafina. I see you, brother. I see you. He's got the water out the Voss. I know what's up. You know, oh boy, the finish on this municipal water is just terrible. Ugh. It tastes fine up until the finish. But the finish on it really just there's a weird metallic note. There's definitely that chemical note. Oof. Just not doing it for me. Not doing it for me. Yeah, Trevor, he knows what's up with that new release. The what was it called? The Door Slightly Ajar or something? E.H. Taylor's bringing out all the stops this year. It's gonna be a heavy hitter. Nick says, trying out some smart water to see if it does what it says it does. I'd love to know, Nick. Let me know how that turns out for you. See, I swear to God, this is the distilled water. This shit tastes like the plastic container it's being stored in. No geranium yet, but we haven't gotten to the specialist water. Once we get to the most special water, that's where I think you're going to get some geranium, Nate. Oh, yeah, I think this, honestly, it might be close. Randy asked if this is better than water on the White River. This distilled water might be close because it is just so damn plasticky on the finish. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. Oh, it tastes fine, but it finishes terribly. Definitely not as bad as the municipal water though, but the filter still hangs in close. Okay, now we've got. This will be a very interesting one. The LaCroix Pure. See, I have a hard time believing that that's just carbonated water because there's no carbonation left. As you can see, I can swirl it around and it's just water. But it has this real like soft, almost sweetness to it. And also, it does kind of taste like the metallic can it was stored in a little bit. It's a little sweet. It's a little light. Nick wants me to get some water from Flint, Michigan. Well, I want to have all my brain cells after this flight, so. But yeah, there's a really fun quality to this water, guys. This is really something special. I didn't expect to like this. Mike almost lost it there. Yeah, there's something sweet and a little metallic, which is not my favorite, but it's not bad. I may actually compare that to just the filtered water because the slight calcium note isn't as good for me as the sweet softness. That's definitely softened water. Maybe not fully softened like a water softener at your house, but there's a softness to the LaCroix water that doesn't show up in my filtered water or in the distilled water. All right, guys. Last but not least, this is that special water that came right out of my barrel. I still got this right here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My barrel water. Oh, shit. I'm dripping on the floor. I can't get that good barrel water. I can't lose a drop of it. Shit. I'm going to have to put something underneath that. There we go. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right, guys. Man, this water. Oh, shit. Oh, it smells like straight butterscotch. Okay, here we go. That tastes like I put... Wow! What is happening with this? That legit tastes like I put those butterscotch candies into water. It tastes exactly like that. It tastes exactly like I put butterscotch candies into water. That is truly unbelievable. I came into this experiment expecting it to be kind of whatever. But, man, that is something special. I can't get over how crazy that is. Now, this was filtered water. This was number one, but then run through the barreling process. It's barrel finished water. And it wasn't a fresh barrel. This is not bourbon water. This is whiskey water. That barrel's it's charred. So it's not like a corn whiskey, but it's been aged a couple of times with different products in it. And now, this is maybe the fourth or fifth run through that barrel. But this is really hitting the spot for me. Man, that's really something special. Randy, not to be a water snob, but Fiji is a favorite in our house. I see you. I see you, Randy, rocking the Fiji. That's good stuff. Nate goes to soda water. I like a lot of the soda water stuff. There's a difference between carbonated water, soda water, and obviously tonic is different, but all these things have sort of different interesting components to them. Well, guys, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for joining the stream. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. I think that's it. I'll see you guys later. I'm not going to end the stream there. Come on. Number one, we've only been streaming, what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? I'm not ending the stream there. But number two, happy April Fools. Yes, I'm not ending the channel. You know, I probably should have tried to commit for longer than 15 minutes, but I've always been told I have commitment issues. So, whatever. We're going to keep going. We're going to do this the fun way. We're going to keep this channel alive. I will make some changes, and I'll talk about those in the coming days, because, you know, every joke has a kernel of truth to it, and there are some things I'm wanting to change about my channel that I will be changing about my channel, but it's certainly not going away. I'm not done yet, and I'm certainly not going to only review fucking water for the rest of the channel. So, so now I will tell you what I'm actually doing. What I'm actually doing today is not just drinking water. Although I gotta admit, like, legit, that barrel-aged water was fucking wild. Like, I did not expect that. That was awesome. I liked looking at the comments just now. Trevor says he's a low Aquafina dude. Nick says, you bottle that whiskey water, people be lining up at 5 a.m. to buy it in stores, especially if you put a little horse on top. Like, you could sell that whiskey water for real. Like, it is butterscotch flavored water with a hint of alcohol, like, and a hint of oak. It is wild. Totally agree, Bourbon Baller. You got to mix up your water. The bullshit can only last for so long. But I was happy to do it. It was a fun thing to do. You know, I figured if I had just done a video, I probably would have committed. 15 minutes is a good, you know, I can turn that into a 10-minute video with editing. But I did not want to do an hour live of that nonsense. I didn't want to do an hour live of even just like pretending to end the channel. That just was just too much for me. Like I said, that I can't commit like that. So instead, we're going to do a lineup of 5 different whiskeys that I regret purchasing. Let me say that again. 5 different whiskeys that I regret purchasing. Now, that doesn't mean these are bad whiskeys per se. Some of them are, in my opinion. But it's mostly just a function of these are whiskeys I regret purchasing. I wish I hadn't bought them. I wish I'd done things differently. Ironically, I didn't know that I was going to make this video for April 1st about like quitting YouTube as an April Fool's joke. I didn't know I was doing that until very recently. It just kind of dawned on me that today was April 1st. Bourbon Baller almost smashed a bottle. But you know, what I realized was the thumbnail that Yolanda made, which is the thumbnail for this video, I did fire up Bourbon Baller. That thumbnail was just for, like, the regrets, because that's what I wanted to do. I was like, I'll talk about 5 whiskeys I regret buying. There you go. That's easy. You know, the thumbnail turned out really great. I really liked it, but I'm like, that looks like I'm quitting YouTube. And I said, fuck it. Let's put that up. Let's make that the title of the video with, like, no details, just super, you know, out of character in terms of style and structure. It was only today I came up with the water tasting idea, which I think was a fun one. I'm glad I did that. And because there's some legitimacy to it. You know, it's silly. It's kind of ridiculous, but, like, I was surprised. I legitimately was surprised by the results of that tasting. Flat LaCroix is pretty damn good water. Water regrets, yeah. And man, I gotta keep that barrel-aged water. Last time I did that, just to keep the barrel fresh, you can put water in it for a while when you're in between whiskeys. You don't want the barrel to dry out, because then it becomes harder to use for whiskey aging. But I might keep that water after I pour it out for my next project. But let's go ahead and talk about some whiskeys that I regret buying. Michael McAllister was legitimately worried that I was quitting this channel. Like I'm sorry about your little scare there, Mike, but don't worry, brother. It's all good. We're keeping this shit going. Oh man. Yeah. Well, I mean, Trevor. I helped Trevor out with that old Fitz 9. I don't actually regret purchasing that old Fitz 9. I knew that was one that I thought about putting that up here, but I don't regret it because it got worse for me over time. And so I regret not filling that with argon gas and not trying to keep it the same place it was when I first purchased it from Trev. That's a lesson learned, that if a whiskey is good where it's at, put the argon gas in it or some sort of neutral gas. I always keep a can of that handy. It's just right over here off screen. And that's a really good way to preserve the flavor in the whiskey. If you're not going to drink the bottle in the next 6 months, if you're not going to finish the bottle in the next 6 months, I would always use a neutral gas on top. Indie Fishing Guy, glad you're sticking around. Me too, my man. With all the crazy shots that went down on WhiskeyTube, I was worried. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird place right now, man. WhiskeyTube is a Wild West. Bourbon Baller, I only bought a few bourbons I regret. I like to make educated decisions. That is a definite theme, Bourbon Baller, of today's lineup. Educated decisions. All right, let's start with, so some of these are store picks. Actually, 2 of the 5 are store picks. But I'm not going to reference the stores. I'm going to cover up the names on the bottles of the stores, because the reason I regret buying it has nothing to do with the specific stores. I don't want to put any stores on blast because it's not their problem. The mistakes were mine, not theirs. I've had store picks where the mistakes were theirs. But that's not what I've got here today. I'm usually pretty good about not buying store picks that I haven't been able to try. That there is there are some that I've not done, or I just buy the bottle and regret it. But Indie Fishing Guy. Now I got to go watch your Oak and Eden video because I got the bottle myself. I'd be curious what your thoughts are on it. I liked it more than most people I've heard talk about it. That's right there. But it's pretty good. Okay. Let's dig in with just bumping shit. Let's go ahead and start with this one. Now this is a store pick of Jefferson's Ocean, aged at sea. This is Voyage 19. It was it's the special wheated mash bill. It's a store pick from a local liquor store that shall remain nameless. But I regret buying this one for a couple reasons. First off, Jefferson's Ocean is not typically my favorite pour. I've had some Jefferson's Oceans that I really liked, but the ones I really liked were always the cask strength versions. I've had several different Jefferson's Oceans that were just okay, but at 43% or 45% or whatever they're at. This one is at 43%. No, I'm sorry, 45%. And yeah, like the only ones I've really liked from the Jefferson's Ocean lineup are the cast strength versions. But I said, well, this is a store pick. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe it'll be special. And it's a wheated recipe. I like a lot of wheaters. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe it'll be special. It's not. And I think there's a couple of lessons here on this pour. Number one, you got to trust your experiences. If you know you don't like something, unless somebody specifically says, oh, this is different than the average version of that, trust your instincts. Trust what you felt and tasted before, The second mistake here really is buying something that I'd never tasted before. I've never had a store pick of Jefferson's. I've never had a wheater of Jefferson's, and I assumed that both of those things would change for the better my feeling on the Jefferson's Ocean. So I gave it sort of, it's not even the benefit of the doubt. I kind of gave it like, there was a lot of like hope involved, like hoping it would be better than it is. Let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit. It's not a bad, this particular bottle is not a bad bottle. Yeah, I see a couple people mention in the chat here. Yeah, it's okay, but the price was high. The story's nice, but they feel like they're just okay, and they aren't cheap. Yeah. Store picks are pretty hard to judge. That's another thing, too, is this particular store, there aren't any stores I've been to where I like every single store pick. I just haven't found that store yet. So for me, with every store, there's hits and misses. And which is why I tend to frequent stores like the Rural Inn and like Vine and Table, where you can actually go taste their store picks. I value that immensely because I like to try before I buy. I'm a price-conscious purchaser. Much to the chagrin, sometimes I think of a couple of these store owners who would like me to light more money on fire. Can't blame them. That's their business. But you know, buying something without tasting it is pretty tough to do. Pretty tough to do. Let's see. Got a couple thoughts. Indie Fishing Guy. I also got a couple bottles I'd like to know your opinion on. Picked up a bottle of Tennessee called Creek Water. Interesting. Well, Indie Fishing Guy, I would love to try them. I'd love to do a video with a sample of it. We can arrange something if you reach out to me. We can get some details exchange and maybe I can get a couple of those samples and do a video for you. Nate was disappointed in his store pick weeder as well. Bourbon Baller says it isn't complex. Nick says, I want you to do a sample of Voyage 22 and see your opinion. It was the first bottle I bought. I enjoyed it. It's overpriced, but based on the story, I'd love to have it. Matter of fact, Nick, at some point in the near future, I'm going to be doing a video of several different batches of Jefferson's Ocean. I think I've got like 5 or 6 different ones, and I don't believe I have the OLHQ Voyage pick, Voyage 22 pick. So I'd love to have that. Hit me up, in a DM, and we can arrange to get a sample headed my way or something. We can make something work out. By the way, I don't know if he's still in the chat or not, but big shout out to Dusty Dan for that Pappy 23 liaison work, I guess I'd call it. I really appreciate that, my brother. That was so awesome to be able to get that done. I got a fun flight coming your way, and we should definitely do a live stream together because I want you to try to guess what's in that flight. I'll drink them along with you. So, yeah, I think Bourbon Baller's critique on the Jefferson's Ocean is pretty spot on. To me, the nose, it's nice. It smells fine. It's caramel. You can smell it's a weeder. It's a little grain forward. Bourbon Baller also feels that way about allocated bourbons. Yeah, man, a lot of the allocations are just, big offender right there. I don't know if you guys can tell what that is. That's Elmer T. Lee blends. Those are big offenders in the, it's rare, it's allocated, and maybe it's good and maybe it's not. I've had some Blantons that were fucking good, really good, but it's a single barrel product. Same thing with Elmer T. Lee, single barrel products, and same thing with his Voyage. Same thing with this fucking store pick. Single barrels are a crapshoot, which is one of the reasons that I frankly haven't been feeling particularly compelled to push myself towards doing store picks for my channel. Number one, I don't have a big enough fan base yet. I'd love to get one, but I don't have 100 people sign up for the Patreon, even though I'd love you to join. Patreon.com/thedrinkpro, another shameless plug. I don't have 100 people in my Patreon, and that makes it difficult to justify buying all these bottles. I don't think I can sell all those that quickly, which is what I'd need to do to get a barrel club going. I know Mash and Drum is doing that with My Bourbon Journey with Scott, and other channels are doing it as well. The Bourbon Enthusiast always has been doing it. It's a fun thing to do, but single barrels are such a crapshoot, and I'm not. If I get what I would want to do, if I was going to set up something like this, I would want to have my top 5 patrons have the opportunity to come out to me, or maybe, top 10 patrons and do a randomizer or something. They'd have an opportunity to come with me to try these samples to pick barrels. But here's the thing. I know that there are barrel picks where none of the barrels are actually what you want. And it's hard for people to not get pressured into buying a barrel. Yeah, you're there. Yeah, they brought you, all these whiskeys to taste. They're being very generous and nice, but they're doing that in anticipation of you buying one of those fucking barrels. And so if you taste all those barrels and you don't think any of them are worth buying, it puts you in a weird spot, man. It puts the pressure on you. I am very comfortable saying none of these are what I want. Sorry about you. Have a nice day. But that will piss people off in the industry. That will piss off some store owners. Now, some distillery owners rather. Now, I would also be perfectly happy to say, can we try a couple others, because these aren't doing it for me. Some people aren't going to be cool about that. But you're the customer, man. You got to ask for what you want. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Anyway, that was a very long tangent. Let's get back to this aged at sea Voyage 19. The fact that this is a wheater, I think it really hurts it, honestly, because as Bourbon Baller correctly pointed out, Jefferson's is not a very particularly complex pour. And because it's a wheater, it's going to be even softer. Don't get any of that rye complexity fitting into this. It is sweet. It is grain forward. Maybe a little honey. It's just, it's okay. It's not my favorite pour. The complexity is I guess I would say, I'm waiting for something to change. I'm waiting for something to happen. Yeah. I mean, I think a big part of the problem here is 45%. It's got a little Kentucky hug only because I haven't had anything else to drink today. First pour of the night, it's super gentle on the palate. It's a nice warm up, but, like I said, a little Kentucky hug, but there's just not much flavor on this. Trevor correctly points out everyone's got a different palate, and you got to figure out who you want to please with a pick. That's a very good point. Ray from the Rural Inn has frequently talked about in interviews and things that he picks based on what he thinks will sell, not necessarily what his favorite barrels are. Yeah, Bourbon Baller's pissed off Heaven Hill and Sazerac. And, that's going to happen. Like, if they roll out 4 or 5 barrels and you don't like them, well, what do you want me to do? You might pretend like I like them? Pretend like I'm going to spend, $5,000-$10,000 or more on this barrel that's just meh? No, fuck that shit. I'm getting a lot of problems with my stream, a lot of jitters. Go figure. It's just soft nothing. There's a little bit of sweetness, but this is good whiskey to get you shit-faced. For real. If you want to take some whiskey to a party and say, let's go get trashed, but you want to drink not terrible whiskey, this is a great option. Because this shit goes down like water. It's not hot. It's not spicy. You get a little pepper on the finish and a little oak in the little belly. But, it's so muted. It's just like oaky water. There was more flavor in that fucking barrel-aged water than there is in this. That's honest to God truth. There's more flavor in that oak-aged water than there is in this Jefferson's. Bourbon Baller told them that they were fucking horrible. Yeah, that'll piss people off. That. Oh man, you're funny stuff, bro. All right, let's move over to. Excuse me. Let's go to the second one. The second pour that I regret buying. This one's got a story behind it, and I don't know if John Warner is in the chat or not, but I was with him when I bought this bottle, and so he knows why I regret buying this. The story behind this doesn't make me look good. I'm kind of ashamed of what I did, but I'm going to talk about it. A Midwinter Night's Dram. Now, this is Act 7, and I have tasted other acts that I liked much better than this one. This was the act where they were blending their own distillate with the source distillate. I believe the most recent batch was all their own distillate, and people actually really seem to like it. I have not tried that yet. Now, first off, this bottle has gotten much worse with age. It started off what's up? No. I'm in the middle of a stream.
They like the dog.
Just put her on the floor. Okay, so when I bought this bottle, I was not at my normal liquor store. And I was pretty new to the world of whiskey, pretty new to the hobby. And I also was pretty shameless. I remain rather shameless, but this was a level of shameless that I'm kind of embarrassed by. The store that I went to had a variety of good whiskeys on the shelf. It was a good place. But they also had like this back area that had like shelving that it was kind of visible from the normal area. And it was pretty obvious. It wasn't labeled at all. It didn't say anything. There weren't any doors or anything, but it was kind of obvious that that was like a back reserved special area that I wasn't supposed to be wandering through. Well, I wandered through it, not for very long, but I basically peeked back there, saw this, and grabbed it. Now, I didn't steal it. I paid for it. In fact, I paid more than retail for it, which John kind of laughed at me and was like, well, there's your fucking instant karma, and he's right. It was instant karma. I paid significantly over retail for this. I believe like 30% or more over retail for this. But, you know, I really regret it because that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. You know, if I'm going to get a bottle of rare bourbon, I want to get it honestly. And so, you know, I think I learned my lesson by paying too much for whiskey that went bad too quickly. And by the way, the store still got their money. It's not like I ripped them off because they like I said, I paid too much for this bottle. Anyway, enough of me self-flagellating and shaming myself. Let's go ahead and taste this stuff. This was also in a blind that I did, and I really did not enjoy it at all. I thought it was terrible, and you know what? I learned my lesson because it got really bad really quick. Yeah, see, and the thing of it is, what happened here, I mean, if you don't know, High West Midwinter Night's Dram is port-finished rye whiskey. They blend rye, they finish it in port. And I really like the concept because I'm like, oh, the spice of the rye will offset really well with the sweetness of the port. Spicy and sweet together, I'll love it. And I did when I first popped it. I would say the ideal part of this bottle was like the second third. The first third was a little too rye forward. The second third was sort of perfect blend of rye and port. And this third, the last third, is far too mellow in the sense that all of the sweetness of the port is kind of dissipated, all the rye spice is kind of dissipated, and now we're basically stuck with something that tastes like muted, old wine finished, not very good whiskey. Over time, the rye new makiness of the blended in rye becomes really prominent. So it tastes very new makey. The sweetness of the port is very dissipated. And so now I just get a lot of dry oak because it's just sort of showing up as a, you know, further barreled product. And there's a wine bitterness on the palate that I really don't enjoy. You know, it's not what I want. By the way, this shirt is still for sale at thedrinkpro.com. You should definitely go buy it because it's not just me. Kyle T. It's not Kyle Phi. I've said it wrong a couple of times. That's because I'm not paying enough attention. Kyle T. did this design, made this art. It's got my logo. These aliens are stealing a barrel. It's fun stuff. Thedrinkpro.com. Thedrinkpro.com. A Midwinter Night's Dram, to me, is really a hit or miss product anymore. You know, I think some of the earlier batches built their name because they were getting sourced product that was really solid. I've never been a fan, though, of MGP rye, which I think is where they were sourcing some of their stuff from. And ryes aren't usually my jam. The port finish really did save it for about a third of the bottle. But once the port lost its sweetness and the rye lost its balance, and you start to be able to taste and see the new make in it. No, it fell apart pretty damn quick. Yeah, bourbon bottles is kind of like it separates. I've had bad bottles like that. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's what is happening with this one. Specifically because I've had it open for a long time and it's relatively low. I mean, you guys saw how low it was. And like I said, I got this bottle when I was pretty new into the hobby, so it's been open for a long time. But you gotta live with yourself. At the end of the day, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and say, all right, well, what can I learn from this? I fucked up, but how can I move forward? That's what I'm trying to do. Trevor has a really good point. He says, do you think it's a finished whiskey thing? The finished might make it go bad quick. The notes in the Bellmead XO finish we talked about last night. Yeah, Trevor and I were sharing a few pours online with Nate last night. And I think Nate must have wandered off. Could be a shitty blend too, Bourbon Baller. But the Bellmead XO, it got super oaky and really dry and tannic forward at the after being open for a while. It does seem like the sweetness that's coming out of these sherry barrels, the cognac, the port, these sweeter barrel flavors that are coming from these brandies and these wines that are sweeter dessert wines. It doesn't blend well for me with the bourbon notes, and you end up getting these other components. It's like the sounds almost cancel each other out. But let's move forward here. This is a barrel rye. Hold on. This is a barrel. I'm trying to cover up the name of the store that picked it. There you go. It's a barrel rye, single barrel. This one is a 14-year, another very high proofer. It's Canadian rye, almost 70%. And I got a problem with this one. And I knew better. I knew better than to buy this. I've had a lot of barrel products. They're almost always overpriced. Barrel is just expensive as shit for no apparent reason. I will say, though, I very recently bought from Vine and Table one of their single barrels, just kind of on a whim. It was $100, and I was like, that's too much, but what the hell, I'll try it. It was really good. I really liked it. It was really solid, so, you know, maybe they're not all like this, but I've had several barrel products that just seem overpriced to me. This high-proof Canadian rye in particular seems overpriced to me. It was $100 or $90, something like that, I think. And it's just too sharp. You know, high-proof rye like this, it's hard to get it right. It's hard to get it the right balance. And this is what I really am, frustrated and embarrassed by, is this bottle is not my first bottle of high-proof Canadian rye coming from barrel. That's embarrassing. I should have fucking known better. Barrel has done a store pick with another local store that was a very, very high proof. I think that one was over 70%. It was like 75. It was very high proof hazmat. But it was a rye as well. Very light whiskey rye kind of vibe. And I didn't really care for it. I mean, it was fun because it was super high proof. It was interesting in certain uses. It went really well with an ice sphere because it didn't lose enough proof. It just felt like a light rye. And still came in at like 50% alcohol by the time it was finished. But, just neat, which is how I usually like to drink whiskey. It just didn't work. And I think that's the same problem I'm having with this one. So, this is a case of, again, trusting your instincts, but also, know what you like. I don't typically like ryes. I don't typically like, super hot, high-proof Canadian whiskey. I should have known everything I needed to know by the color. This is 14-year-old Canadian. Look at that fucking color. That should have been all I needed to know. But alas, here we are. Bourbon Baller says Dovetail is great. I have not had Dovetail. Okay, a couple other comments. Nick said, I just cracked that new Jefferson's rye finished in cognac barrels tonight. I'd be curious how that one is, Nick. And I'd also be curious how that tastes after about 6 to 10 months open. I don't know, some people can't get bottles to last that long, but I always seem to be able to. Bourbon Baller says, there could be too much remnants left in the barrel before the bourbon is put in. That will give a huge amount of finish and bitterness. Very good point. Barrel is very pricey, Trev. You are absolutely right. Here we go. My right nostril is starting to close up. I really need to go get my sinuses looked at, because I definitely have a deviated septum or some bullshit. But this is just, it's hot, it's bright, it's rye forward. It's not really what I'm looking for from a rye at all. And I don't usually look for ryes, so that's sort of like, you know, doubly troubling. Doubly troubling? Yeah, whatever. You get the point. Man, and that is just hot as all hell, too. Ugh. The flavors aren't particularly bad, but it's so hot. And it's very rye grain forward. Even though it's 14 years, it's still very grain forward. It's just a hard one to find tasty, just neat. And like I said, I want to drink most things neat, so why did I buy this? I have no idea. I don't have a good answer. I'm going to add a little bit of LaCroix Pure to it here, because I don't have any water handy. Just to see if tamping it down a bit helps. Oh, shit. I just spilled all over myself. I will say that opens it up a little. Yeah, but see, it opens it up into this, like, super grain-forward, sharp, slightly bitter rye flavor without much, like, sweetness or character. It's just not good, man. Barrel is not my jam. Or at least their high-proof Canadian ryes aren't my jam. Like I said, I really did enjoy the private barrel that I've got over here somewhere. I'm not going to fish that out right now. This episode was not intended to be this episode was not intended to be this full of the self-flagellation. I really wasn't intending to, like, talk about all my flaws and how shitty I am as a person when I do things that are stupid. But it kind of turned out that way. It kind of turned out like, you big idiot, why did you buy this? C'est la vie. Let's do it again. Let's talk about another one I shouldn't have bought. This here, going back to knowing what I don't like and knowing I should have fucking done something else. Indiana Gold. Now, I hate to do this one. I really do. I really hate to bring this up because West Fork is a local distillery. I like the people at West Fork. I like what they're doing. I like some of their products. Their B Street Blues is one of my favorite local whiskeys. Like, there are a lot of people distilling in the Indianapolis area, and a lot of them don't do whiskey well. And I know that West Fork can and does, and they're doing things smart. So they're taking young MGP and making that one of their main sources of revenue while they build up their stock. And they are making stuff that I do like at their facility. I've toured their facility. I have nothing but good things to say about them and what they're doing and where they're going, but this is just not good whiskey. And I should have known it. First red flag. It's 26 months old. Buddha 829 in the chat. Hey, how's it going, brother? So this is a 7-barrel. So first things first. This was a limited release. They did this. Oh, the Distillers Collection. Oh, it's fancy. Indiana Gold limited release by West Fork. I think it was like $70. Too much money for 26-month-old whiskey. It's straight corn whiskey. It's in once used bourbon barrels. Char number 3. It's totally unfiltered. So look at my face. But you can see the particulate in it. If I shake it. Yeah, you can see that particulate in it. So it's not even non-chill filtered. It is not filtered at fucking all. Oh, what else we got going on with this? It's 100% corn. It's 26 months old. It's a blend of 7 different barrels. It's just young. It's straight corn whiskey, which I'm not usually a fan of. It's 59.6% alcohol, which is fun. It's fun to be, this is as straight from the barrel as you get. unfiltered, cast strength. Like, this is just as close to tasting what the blenders were tasting as you can do. But it's just not what I like from a whiskey. It's too young. It's too corn heavy. Only things I like that are that corn heavy are like mellow corn. Well, that's not true. I also really like some of the stuff coming out of Old 55 down there. But that's 80-20. That's not 100% corn. Actually, and now that I say that, mellow corn is not 100% corn either. Yeah, Bourbon Ballers never heard of it. I would say most people have never heard of this bottle, just because West Fork doesn't get a lot of distribution. You know, they're not a big. They're in Indianapolis. They're not a big company, which is part of why I feel bad shitting on this particular bottling. But I've said a bunch of positive things about them and their other bottles, so I feel like that'll offset all the things I had to say negative about this. Oh, I forgot the most important part. So I did a video review on this already. It was sponsored by Naptown Bourbon Club. Ryan is the president of Naptown. He said, he was out of town at the time. He said, hey, can you buy me one of these bottles? When you go there, buy one of these bottles for me, and then you could take a sample out of it for yourself to do a video on. I said, that sounds great. So I did that. I made the video. But when I went there, let me take a step back. After I did that, I went there and I bought 2 bottles. That was it was a limit 2 because it's a very limited release. It all sold out like the first day or something. I kept one unopened, and then I opened this one, and then I ended up opening the other one and keeping this one for myself, and the other unopened one that became opened for the video was then sent to Ryan. And I just wish that I had just done the video, opened the one of them, drank that with Ryan, and then traded or sold the other one, because it wasn't my jam. I'm not sure it's a bad whiskey per se, but it just isn't what I'm looking for. And it's rare enough that I could have traded it for a bottle that I would like better. Trev says, have you ever tried the Old 55 sweet corn whiskey? I have. Matter of fact, I was lucky enough to try the Old 55 sweet corn whiskey as a bottling, but also straight from the barrel, literally being thieved out of the barrel. I was able to do that when I did my Old 55 pick. That was really fucking cool. It's a super unique, interesting, delicious whiskey. If you don't know, guys, the Old 55 sweet corn whiskey is the only whiskey I've ever heard of that's made using 100% sweet corn and not the typical kind of corn you see in other kinds of whiskey. It's not Bloody Butcher. It's not a more traditional feed corn. No, it's actually like sweet corn like you would eat. The reason people don't typically do it is because it's so fucking expensive. I think the typical bottling that's been proofed down to 80 is over $100, and I've only ever seen one place get the barrel proof, the sign that I tried straight from the barrel. One place got a barrel proof bottling of it. I think they were selling for $250 or $300. Very expensive, but it's very unique. It's sort of like bourbon cognac. It drinks more like a corn. That's what I meant to say. It drinks more like a corn brandy and less like a bourbon, even though it's technically bourbon. Actually, it may be technically corn whiskey. I'm not certain about that, whether they char their barrels or not. They're certainly using smaller barrels, 32 gallon or something like that. But anyway, this Indiana Gold, it just smells like corn. It smells like corn and liquor, or alcohol, ethanol. Stupid nostrils. Man. That'll clear out your sinuses, except for mine for some reason. I mean, this is just... You can smell the heat. Almost 60% alcohol. But it just mostly just smells like corn. Now, 26 months in a used barrel, you're not getting much age on it. I'm surprised it has as much color. It only has this much color because it was such a damn small barrel. Yeah. And it tastes like old dusty corn. Tastes a little bit sour and super dry oak. It's just all the worst qualities of a small barrel to me. It tastes too young and new makey. It tastes too over oaked and astringent. Those two only come together when you've got, a problem with the process. You end up with too young a whiskey, too small a barrel. It gets over oaked before it gets the sweetness out of the middle of the wood. When you take a bigger barrel, there's sort of 3 different layers on the oak. And the bigger barrels, you require enough time in the barrel that the whiskey can lose that new makiness. It mellows out, and part of that's because of the contact with the charred edge, which basically acts like a charcoal filter. It filters out, a bit of the sharpness that comes from the new make, the high wines. The second layer is the sweetness. It's the caramel, it's the vanilla, it's all those tasty notes that you look for from a bourbon. That is released by the charring process and sort of sits right below the char in the barrel. The third note is the oak tannins, the woodiness and the dryness, and that goes below the vanillins. And you kind of need all 3 of those levels, and you need time, and you need, like Bourbon Baller says, the right climate to get access to all those. So you need simultaneously for the right amount of contact with that charred level to sort of mellow out the whiskey, and the right amount of contact with that middle level to bring in those sweetnesses without going too long where you get too much contact with the oaky astringent portion of it. And all of that, like Bourbon Baller correctly says, it comes down to climate and aging, but part of it also comes down to surface area. Part of the reason that small barrels have a harder time with this aging process and have a smaller sweet spot is because you have a lot more whiskey touching wood. The percentage of whiskey that's physically touching the inside wood is much higher. That's just how volume works. So bigger barrels, you're going to have less surface area. That means it's going to have more time to mellow while it's pulling out vanillins and pulling out oak flavors. That very small barrel I've got here next to me, if you put liquor in that within a week or 2, it starts to get super tannin forward. Like all that oaky tannin comes out quick. And part of that's because there's so much whiskey having contact with the surface area. And so if you put new make in that little barrel, I mean, there's no way you're going to get good vanillins out of it. You're going to end up with something like this, where it's simultaneously too tanniny, too dry, too astringent, too oaked, and also still new makey because it didn't have time to mellow with the charred contact. I just feel like I'm complaining a lot now, so I'm going to stop and start drinking whiskey. But I hope that's informative. Some of you probably don't know that. I hope that was somewhat informative. Or at least you can nod your head in agreement with, like, me, my old man routine of complaining. There's, like, a sour, almost moldy flavor in the mid-palate. That's just awful. Astringency I can forgive. Astringency I can forgive. New makiness I can forgive. Together it's hard to forgive them, and then you add in the unpleasant middle. It's ruined. It's just no good. That's the closest bottle I've ever had to a drain pour, with one exception. Mike Halliday, what's up, Mike? How you doing, brother? He bought a barrel 026 that's pretty nice. I've had a couple of barrels that are pretty solid. The problem is they're fewer and further between than I'd like them to be. I'm just not buying the right barrel products, obviously. Bourbon Baller correctly notes out altitude has a lot to do with the different floors and different rick houses. Very true. Altitude has something to do with it, but I think altitude has a lot to do with the climate inside the rick houses. I would sort of argue that climate's the biggest factor, and the way rick houses are designed means that higher barrels are going to get more heat, and they're going to age more rapidly. If you look at a lot of the products that are super aged, you look at like 20-year, 23-year, 25-year whiskeys, they almost always come from the middle of a rick house. And part of the reason why is a lot of these warehouses have air circulation, so the outsides are going to get a lot of heat. You're going to also have a lot of first floor and low floor whiskeys be lower proof, but they're not going to be necessarily less astringent, because although the proof is lower, they're going to have more of they're still going to have less consistency than barrels in the middle of the warehouse, where the air will always be a little bit warmer than the outside, but they're not going to have the huge jumps in variety. A great example of that is looking at Four Roses, because Four Roses single barrels have such good information on the bottles, and they'll tell you like where they're pulled from exactly. And Bourbon Baller is absolutely right. Second and third floor bottles where it's at. He's totally right. You know, the second and third floor, the middle of the rick house for a lot of these rick houses, you get sort of the best of both worlds. I like a lot of the first floor stuff, but you gotta like younger or brighter flavors at least. Hakeem, man, you ain't leaving shit. You're not wrong. I mean, I'm still here. But it was fun to pretend like I was leaving for 15, 20 minutes or something. So I got one more regret. Then I'm just gonna start drinking whiskey. But let's deal with my last regret here. My last regret. Noah's Mill. I don't know what happened here. On paper I did everything right with this bottle. I tried it before I bought it. I loved the one I tried. I was like, yes, I need to get a bottle of that. I saw this sitting on the shelf and was like, hell yeah, I'm buying it. Actually, you know what? I say that. I think that's not true. I think I saw this sitting on the shelf and I'm like, yes, I'll buy it. And I bought it. But I hadn't opened it. I tried it somewhere at a bar or something and I liked it. I may have already had a few drinks when I tried it, and that may have been the problem. But even still, just like, for some reason, Willet doesn't hit me right the way it hits for other people. Now, I don't dislike Willet, and I've got some Willet pours that are fucking amazing. But Willet's own distillate, it's just not for me. Anthony says, I've been trying to give my bottle of Noah's Mill. Yeah, like, it just doesn't hit right for me. Now, Noah's Mill, a bad batch happened to me, but it is a Willet product. You know, and maybe that's what this was. Maybe, like, it seems like I did everything right, so maybe this was just a bad batch. Noah's Mill, for those of you who don't know, I've done a video on this. It's a combination. It doesn't say this on the bottle anywhere. Their disclosure is terrible. But it's a blend of it's a blend of 20-year and 4-year product, which is a cool project. You know, blending some very old and some very young whiskey. I don't like that they're not transparent. It doesn't say what the mash bill is. It doesn't say that aging. I had to look that up to find out about that. About the only good thing I can say about this bottle is I like the coloring and I like that it's got a big punt, so I could fucking saber this thing if it had a big cork on it. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad that there are people out there agreeing with me in the chat. That does make me feel a little better. You know, but the thing that kills me though is I fucking tried this bottle. You know, this wasn't like, with things that are out of nowhere. I get it, right? You know, I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't try it beforehand. I opened a bottle I shouldn't open. Whatever, sure, like all that shit makes sense. But like this motherfucker, I should have known better. But I did everything right, and I still ended up feeling like I got the wrong one. Maybe it was as simple as a bad batch. Maybe it was. I don't know. Let's taste this shit. All right. And see, the other thing with the Willet, man, the nose on this is beautiful. Now, maybe this, you know, I might discover something right now. This has been sitting open for a long-ass time. It's not that far gone, but it's been sitting open for a long-ass time. Maybe 2 years. That's a long time for me. You know, like I said, I'm relatively new to this hobby. Even though I call myself the drink pro, the hubris abounds, but... But, you know, it's still relatively new for me. I think it is why their products get overlooked, Bourbon Baller. I think also part of the reasoning is, you know, they built their name on sourced product. And a lot of their stuff isn't being sourced anymore, or at least not being sourced in the same way. When you're sourcing things, historically, sourcing things meant you kept things secret. Bardstown, I'm very happy to report, has changed that game a lot. They are sourcing things and they're not afraid to say, hey, you can figure out where the fuck this is from. Here's the mash bill. Here's the location. Do your research. I respect the hell out of that. Because what they're doing is they're showing you, look, we can blend this shit. We understand what flavors are good together. And I tell you what, the Discovery 4 was the best one of the Discovery, in my opinion, thus far. Like, they're doing things right now. This thing smells really good, though. It's got a nice, like, cinnamon candy vibe. A lot of honey. A lot of caramel. You know, a lot of good standard bourbon notes. It's got more pepper than I would expect. It's got a lot of white pepper on the nose. Bourbon Baller, I give Noah's Mill a shitty house guest. I feel like I would give this to people who ask for whiskey on the rocks. All right. You want a high proofer on the rocks? I got you. Oh, wait. Before I taste this, on the nose, there's a very distinct herbal quality that's starting to come out. After I let it sit for a minute, that herbal quality comes out on the nose. And that herbal quality is exactly what I don't like about Noah's Mill. So let's go ahead and taste it. I bet that's what's going to bother me. Yeah, man. It's herbal in the worst way possible. It's got a little bit of honey sweetness, but then very quickly it becomes earthy. It's like drinking dirt. It's like licking a ginger root, but not getting any of the ginger. It really is. It's like ginger root. It's like licking a ginger root, but not actually getting into the ginger itself. Just licking the root. You just get the root. All I taste is root on this bitch. And then oak to finish. With a little pepper. A little black pepper. But it's just, you know, it's fine. It's okay. But, like, it's not good enough to justify the price. It's not good that I would buy it again. You know, I've got 100 bottles of open whiskey, which is too many. I'm trying to kill some of these. But it's just, like, just not doing it for me, man. Like, ugh. Oof. What are y'all drinking? Let me know in the chat. And I want to say, you know, we got 16 people here. I think a lot of people weren't here early on. The I'm quitting YouTube was an April Fool's joke. That's not actually happening. I am going to restructure a little bit, but I'm definitely not quitting the show. I'm not quitting the channel. The Drink Pro lives on. And if you didn't catch the beginning of this stream, I highly recommend that you go back and watch it later on. Probably not tonight. It's probably not going to post till tomorrow or the next day, but the first 15 minutes are pretty good, in my humble opinion. I do a review of a variety of different waters. That's right, waters. Definitely worth checking out. Bourbon Baller is hashtag not flexing. He may have been earlier with some of that water, though. He had that fire water collection, so. Oh, my God. Anthony Gargano with a great fucking note. He says, it tastes like whiskey used to clean Idaho potatoes. Anthony, that is a great fucking note, my man. You are 100% right. That is what this is. It tastes like you took whiskey, you scrubbed some Idaho potatoes with it, and then you tried drinking it. That's so perfect. Anthony's crushing that note. Sipping on the JD single barrel rye, barrel proof. Crushing it. That's a delicious bottle, Anthony. Bourbon Baller's not flexing. Bourbon Baller, flex a little bit. Just a little bit. Akeem's out here flexing. I know Akeem's got a hella good pour. I got to get out to Akeem's patio at some point, or his deck in the near future. I've got, I don't know, I got tomorrow off. What are you doing? Oh, he's got that tornado. Bourbon Baller, I may legitimately reach out to you about that, because in a very soon, I'm going to be doing a live stream where I taste as many E.H. Taylors as I can. And I've got 3 or 4 of the rare batches, and I don't think the Tornado is one of them. And that would just be, I mean, all I need is like an ounce. Fuck, I need a half ounce. I just need enough so I can taste it side by side with some of these other bottles. Because I'm so curious about doing a lineup of E.H. Taylor special bottlings. Trevor's working on a 1792 full proof, a Chips liquor store pick. Nice. 1792's full proof picks. Some of them are just fucking fire. I got one from Merlin that was fire that I have gonna finish pretty soon. It's nearing the end of its life. Oh man, there it is. Akeem's got the Springbank 20 single cask. Hell yeah, that's some good shit right there. Akeem is not as much of a bourbon guy as I typically am, but he's got some really good scotches that we've tried. So, cheers, my brother. What can I get anything on this Noah's Milk besides potato water? Thank you so much, Anthony, for that note. Like honestly, that is so fucking perfect. Ugh, just not good. Just not good. Oh, all right. All right, I'm done with that. I'm done with that one. Well, that's sort of the end of my planned content. Steve M. I'm in the UK and it's 2:30 a.m. and I'm currently drinking a scotch. I do love my bourbon though. Cheers, guys. Cheers to you, Steve. Way to be up late, my man. I've been out liquor shopping for me today. LOL, says Bourbon Baller. I want to give a shout out to Steve though. 2:30 a.m. He's drinking a scotch. What scotch you drinking, Steve? I love to see it, brother. Cheers, man. That's awesome. Mike Halliday's drinking Johnny Walker Rye Finish. Is it Cavalin? I think it's Cavalin. I always have trouble saying that. Now JD single barrel proof. That's a hot topic, right? Hot commodity right now. Those single barrel proofs. I mean, they're good stuff. I know Scott on my bourbon journey just did a flight of different ones. I've not done a video on a flight. I did a video where I on my Rye Basics video, I ended the video with a review of that. And, you know, that was a fun concept. I'll probably do that again in the future. I like doing the basics videos to get people who aren't super experienced in whiskey an understanding of what they're getting into, and then also including some content for other people who have more experience in whiskey. You know, people can jump through the beginning preamble if you just know what you're talking about with rye and you just want to see the review of the barrel proof. You can jump ahead in that video and get that. I recommend doing it if you haven't seen it. Bourbon Baller spent $2K, got a lot of good shit, though. Well, you know, I'm pretty jealous of the ability to spend $2K on bourbon in one day. I'm sure you did get good shit, and you know, I'm happy for you, but that is a luxury that I cannot afford. It's hard to do that on a government salary. And I'm paying too much for rent, but that's another issue. Yeah, so what should I drink? You guys can see what I got on this shelf here. What should I drink? What should I drink next? I want to get a couple of different options, so put your thoughts in the live chat what I should be drinking next. I'm still going to finish up this Noah's Mill, but, you know, I want to be responsive to the viewers. Lafroig Lore. Steve's got the Lafroig Lore. Cheers, my man. Lafroig has some tasty pours out there. I think a lot of people in bourbon have a hard time jumping over to peated scotch, but for some reason, for me, peated scotch, I mean, you can see down here, I've got, I mean, that's a single cask nation, but it's a peater. You can see Nick Offerman's head right there. That's the Nick Offerman Lagavulin. You know, down here is a lot of, it's hard to move my finger. There we go. Down here is a lot of peated scotch. For some reason, like, peated scotch just, it's like I put myself in a different mindset, and I find myself really able to drink it as compared to bourbon. I think a lot of other scotches, they feel like they're close to bourbon, but then there's just something off about them. Whereas I'm just not in the same mind space for a peated whiskey as I am for a bourbon. So it's like a whole different animal. Yeah. That's up to you, Trevor. High proof or low proof? Akeem fucked his neighbor up with the Lafroig 10 cast strength last weekend. That's pretty funny. Well, you know, I'm curious to see the future of Scotch in America. I know the tariffs got listed temporarily, or got sidelined temporarily, but um, David, David got Rabbit Hole bourbon for $5.99 this week. I did not get Rabbit Hole for $5.99, but I would love to be able to. Where the hell did you get Rabbit Hole for $5.99? That's fucking awesome. Bourbon Baller said 6-pack single, 6-pack EHT barrel proof, 6 Weller, 6 Rock Hill. There's more, but all MSRP. Damn, Bourbon Baller. I would kill for an E.H. Taylor barrel proof and a Rock Hill. I would kill for those at MSRP. Yeah. I mean, I'm really curious what Scotch is going to do in the U.S. because bourbon has blown up so hard that, I feel like there's a lot of people that, who like bourbon, but I think I fit into this category. I like bourbon, but I'm just unwilling to, wait in line for 12 hours to buy a bottle of 117 series Old Forester, for, $50 for a 375 or whatever. Drew Black is one of the people here in the local bourbon scene that a lot of people know. He did a review of all 3 of the Old Forester 150ths on Instagram. I think his handle it's changed a couple times. I think now it's like Drew Does Reviews or something like that. But he correctly pointed out that like old Brown Foreman has figured out that bourbon drinkers will pay too much for okay whiskey. And he said that all the 150ths are probably worth about $80 a pop. I don't know if that's the right price point, but I got to agree they're not worth the MSRP. Or certainly not what I paid for them, which was slightly above MSRP. I think a lot of whiskey is like that right now in the American world, in the bourbon world. Like, bourbon is just so hot that it's the demand is outpacing supply and the pricing is suffering because of it. And it's hard for me to recommend a lot of bourbons because people can't either get their hands on it or they're just going for too much money. The pricing just doesn't make sense with the product. What's up? Bruce Johnson in the house. Good evening, my friend. So I'm curious to see how... he says it's easy to get bourbon if you're in the industry. Well, I believe that, Bourbon Baller, but I am not in the industry. At least not deep enough in the industry that I can get bourbon easily. I certainly can't go get a case of Rock Hill Farms like you can, sir. Like I said, I would kill for just 1 bottle. But yeah, I'm curious to see how bourbon evolves because of this. I think a lot of local and craft distilleries are going to get clout because of this. And there are some people making good product out there. Some of the smaller guys... Well, one that comes to mind for me is Yellowstone. Like, a lot of people don't like Yellowstone, and that's fine. But I like Yellowstone. I think it's solid stuff. Especially for the age and because they're doing all their own distillate. They've got a real potential for the future. I think Yellowstone's going to have great things in the future. New Riff is the same way. New Riff has got a great future ahead of them. And, hopefully those kind of people can focus on keeping their products affordable. I'm not sure they will. New Riff actually just gave in to temptation and did their 15-year limited release MGP that everyone, blew up about. I'd love to try that. I'd love to get us hands on a sample of that New Riff special release or whatever, the 15-year MGP, just to see what it was like. But that shit started selling for crazy amounts, like $1,000 or something stupid on secondary. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. Bourbon Baller killed his Yellowstone 2020 in a week. I've got a bottle of it in the closet over here, I think. Maybe we can get a trade for a Rock Hill Farms. We can get some trading going, Bourbon Baller. Trev took him 3 years and a helpful manager to get 1 Rock Hill. Yeah, unless I'm going to pay secondary, I don't ever anticipate getting a Rock Hill Farms, to be honest. Akeem said New Riff is legit. Mike Halliday, I'm getting mellow enough to get out a pour of the Old Carter American Batch 4. Seriously, maybe the best fucking whiskey I've ever tasted. I don't know if if I've had the American 4. I'm sure I have. The American 4. God, I don't remember that specifically. Shit, I'll have to do some digging on that, Mike. I know I've had the American 4. But I've had more of the bourbons than I have the American series. Thank you, Evan. Evan, I'm going to say Wibble. It might be Weibel. But Evan points out correctly, the New Riff 15 was originally a charity item. They donated $130,000 of the money they made off those bottles. See, now I'm very glad you pointed that out, Evan, because I had forgotten about that, and it's a very good point. If you're going to take advantage of the bullshit pricing that's out there, do some good with it. Now, I can respect that. As much as I don't like it when I see local liquor stores do charity auctions for like tickets and to do right to buy, that's happened a lot. I don't like it because I'm not gonna be able to afford to buy as many tickets and get my hands on a bottle. You know, people are coming out here and they're buying $1,000 worth of tickets and going, if I get a bottle, cool. If I don't, there's a donation to charity. And I'm very happy that they're able to turn that hype into charity money. But I end up having this sort of double-edged sword, like, unfortunate feeling because I'm like, man, I can't get a bottle of that now. I can't afford to buy 1,000 tickets. I mean, I can buy one ticket, maybe get stupid lucky. Probably not. But I'm glad you pointed that out, Evan, because, yeah, taking something like that and using it to donate to charity is a very good thing, and I'm glad they did it. That just furthers my initial point, which is I like what New Riff is doing. They seem to be doing things right way. Steve says he loves New Riff as they can actually get it in the UK, limited what I can get over here. Yeah, that is a real interesting phenomenon. I was talking with Ryan about this, one of my patrons. Patreon.com/thedrinkpro. Another shameless plug. Ryan was telling me that he goes to the UK fairly often. And he said what's interesting is he can get a lot of good things over there you can't get here and vice versa. So he finds himself always buying whiskey over there and bringing it back. But it's mostly either older stuff from auctions or some unique scotches. You know, there's a lot of good bottles to be had in the UK. It's just not a lot of the stuff that's easily found and easily drank. Trevor really likes the American Badge 3. I do too. Old Forester 117 got a bottle from a friend. Bourbon Baller's always got the hot bottles. Mike Halliday, now drink something good. You got it, my man. You know what? Let's talk about this bottle for a second. It's the theme after my fun little after my fun little April Fool's prank and my water reviews. You know, the whole theme of today had been purchases that I regret. This one might fit into that category, but I haven't decided yet. Now, the reason this is a half bottle is because I actually split the price and split this bottle with my friend Sean. So we each got half of the bottle. I believe this was a $300 bottle. So I paid $150 for $37.5 essentially. And that was not a markup from Sean. That was the single cask nation price on this bottle. This is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey from an undisclosed distillery, aged 24 years in American oak. It was distilled October 1994. It was bottled December 2020, distilled in Kentucky, matured and bottled in Scotland. They only made 1,200 bottles of this. One thing I'll point out is that the label kind of shows this fire. For those of you that are familiar, there was a fire at a very famous distillery, and Single Cask Nation says it's an undisclosed distillery. Wink, wink, nod, nod. If you know what's going on, if you know, you know, which is a phrase I fucking hate, but it happens a lot. But the burned down distillery, this is pre-fire distillate. And it's 24 years old, Kentucky bourbon, but, is aged in Scotland. And I think, I'm going to rinse out a glass real quick here with my LaCroix, L'Chaim. Yeah, I mean, I it's hard for me to spend $150 on a 375 of anything. I did it, I think, especially because it's Heaven Hill. Thank you, Trevor. $150 for a 375 is just a lot of fucking money, no matter what. But I'm not a big fan of like super aged whiskey typically. Like 24 years. I think part of why I bought it was because I liked the pre-fire Heaven Hill, but also because it's cool to have a bourbon that was aged in Scotland. That's such a unique circumstance. It just seems like something cool to own. But I hate these glass corks. Part of why I hate these glass corks is they're not actually all fucking glass. Like, the reason these glass corks work is because there's a little bit of fucking plastic there. Like, that's what the cork is that plastic right there. The glass is just for show. So yeah, it's a plastic, or it's a glass cork. No, it's a fucking plastic cork. Alright, enough of me complaining, even though I think that's why some of you tune in, is to watch me bitch and moan, because I'm very good at it. That's how I became a lawyer. I just turned bitching and moaning into a profession. Mike Halliday, can't do peated yet. Tried Lefroy 10 and Cal Isla. Can't do it. Love Old Pulteney and the Balvenie. Some point in the near future, Mike, we got to get together. I know you're not that far away from me, so we need to make that happen. Maybe some weekend I can come down. We can meet up. And I'll bring a couple pours, and you bring a couple pours. We'll have a good time. But I've got a peated whiskey. I've got a peated whiskey that I think might just make you change your mind. And I'll set it up right. I'll give you some preamble. I'll get your mind in the right space, because I think that's all that it's about. If you're thinking whiskey, you're in the wrong space. I think I agree with Akeem. You got to break yourself into the space, but like it's a paradigm shift. You got to think about it differently. There are some peated bourbons out there if you haven't had them, believe it or not. They're usually smaller distilleries, but there is peated bourbon, and it's worth digging into. It's worth trying. Now, this thing is opened up a little bit. It's, half full. I did put the neutral gas on top of it. So it didn't open up a lot, but it's very nice on the nose. Got a beater. I mean, you can just smell that this is Heaven Hill. There's no secrets here. Bourbon Judge did an alternative of OF 117. Ah, the old 1915. Clyde May's 12-year cast strike. That's a good one, Bourbon Baller. But Mike Halliday, great point. The 1915, I call it, half 1910, half 1920. Bourbon Judge said that was a good alternative to Old Forester 117. I really like the 1915. That's my favorite way to drink the Old Forester series. And I've got them all up. Come on, here we go. All these like little frame things, and they go all the way up over here. All these little frame things are different Old Forester bottlings, and it has all four of that Prohibition series, or whatever they called it. I don't remember what they called it. But the 1910 and the 1920 are delicious, but I love them blended together. I have not had Southern Revival, Bruce. That's an interesting sounding pour. But this thing is... I'm surprised it's not more oaky. I mean, because it's aged in Scotland in a more temperate climate, it doesn't have that same like over oakedness that comes from some of the super aged whiskeys. Gotta clear up my sinuses. Fucking somebody remind me to go to the damn doctor and get my ear, nose, and throat doctor. Like, I just want to get up there just with a drill and just maybe they'll do that for me. Because it's not all the time, but, in the middle of a stream, it's pretty goddamn inconvenient to just lose smell in one of my nostrils. I may have to pull out some fucking heavy hitters. That's what I'm going to do. After I drink this really delicious, hard-to-find, unique pour, I'm going to pull out a fucking heavy hitter and just nuke my nostril. We're going to fucking go for it. But first, let's taste this thing. A lot of dark, rich, creamy flavors. What's the proof on this? Yeah, 47.4. It's so low proof. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's an alright pour. It's fine. I mean, you know, what do you want from a pour? This is very complex. It's lots of deep, rich, leathery, tobacco, old books. It's got all those deep, rich undertones of a long-aged spirit. It's not too oaky. It's not over-oaked. And I'm very sensitive to oak, saying that. So, you know, kudos on them for being able to pull a 24-year-old whiskey that's not over-oaked, that's doing bourbon shit. It's disappointingly low proof. I mean, I get it. It's probably cask proof or whatever, cask strength or barrel proof. It's just because of the nature of the climate over there, it's going to be lower proof. Assuming they didn't add water to it. It's beautifully complex, but it's so subtle. The complexity is very subtle. It's not much of a journey. It's all in like one spot, mid palate. Beginning is slightly sweet and then nothing. The finish is slightly oaky and then nothing. The mid palate is just super dense, unique, delicious. But like Akeem says, it's a really nice, unique pour. It's just not $300 nice and unique. It's the same kind of shit. There's only 1,200 bottles of this in the world. They're never going to make it again. It's pre-fire, so you're not going to be able to find it again. And they knew people would pay $300 for a bottle of it. I don't hate the player. I hate the game. You know, the thing is, I didn't include that. I thought about it, but I did not include that in my initial, like, bottles I regret buying. And I think that's why. Is because I don't really regret buying it. Is it too expensive? Absolutely. Is it not complex enough? Or rather, is it not enough of a journey? Absolutely. Is it not the right proof? Absolutely. But it's unique. It's tasty. It tastes good. And I'm glad I bought it because I'm never going to be able to try it again. And it's not something I can go to a store, go to a liquor store, go to a bar and try. You have to buy the fucking bottle. And so I don't really regret it. All right. Let's mix it up a little here. I really want something to kick my ass because my sinus is all fucked. Maybe I should go with the Elijah Craig. Oh, no, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in with some Obtainium. Obtainium light whiskey. Now, I spoke with... Akeem's really high right now, it looks like. Oh, no, he's really high on Discovery 4. Rarity does mean something. You're right, Trev. Burp Baller, pinhook equals regrets unless it's cast strength. Interestingly, so the pinhook... earlier I said like there was only one I regretted more, and it was a pinhook, and it was a free bottle. It was not one I paid for. It was that bad. So at some point, I've spoken with the people at Obtainium, or not at Obtainium, at Cat's Eye. This is a Cat's Eye distillery product in Iowa. But their Obtainium Master Series collection is, you know, all has the... Oh, shit! Oh, no! Oh, man. That went everywhere. Fuck. God damn it. That's what I get for uncorking the fucking bottle when I'm not pouring it. Anyway, I spoke with the people at Cat's Eye, and I'm hoping they're going to send me a fun little package for a review in the near future. I don't typically do a lot of media packages, but I really like what they're doing out at Cat's Eye. And I look forward to seeing what else they got going on. I'm going to touch the mic here for a second, so apologies in advance. Okay, it looks like there's not too much whiskey on the microphone. The microphone is worth more than any of these bottles, so I really don't want to fuck up my mics. I think I've gotten it all. Fuck, bro. It's that kind of night. Okay. Now let's get into this Obtainium Light whiskey. This stuff, I mean, I like this stuff, but it is hot. 138.9. Let's see if I can't math really quick. 14-year-old light whiskey from MGP. Which I will say, they actually put distilled by Lawrenceburg Distillers, Indiana. That was the name of MGP before it became MGP. So this is not one of those like distilled in Indiana. What is it? Oh, we all know what it is. No, this they tell you this is from LDI, later MGP. Which I like that. I like that transparency. Trev says typical drink pro Supreme. Bourbon Baller says too much regretful bourbon tonight. Haven't had Johnny's Smoking Gun, Bruce. I may have to try that. Elijah 23 is something I would love to get a bottle of. I do not have a bottle of it, but I would love to have one. Steve M. Can't get the 1910 in the UK, but you can get the 1920, and even that isn't easy to get a hold of. Not sure you need more whiskey, drink pro. Yeah, you're not wrong, Steve. I don't really need more whiskey. I'm going to have more whiskey, but I don't really need more. No, Trevor's right. I'm not too many pours in. I'm just clumsy. I'm just a klutz. But, oh, yeah. See, you know what? High proofers are hard to do right, but something about this particular Obtainium is just, it's super high proof, but it's all fruit, man. Let me use this to clear up my sinuses. Oh, yeah. It's actually doing something, believe it or not. I know it just looks like I'm snorting a line of whiskey, but it's like breaking up the whatever. I mean, this thing is deliciously strong. It's super citrusy. I get a lot of berries on it. You definitely get the ethanol burn. That's not going away, but man, it just hits good. You know, this reminds me of some of the light whiskey Jay Mattingly that I've had. If you're on the Patreon, I've posted an exclusive Patreon-only review of 2 different Jay Mattingly products that I picked up in Tennessee. Patreon.com/thedrinkpro, worth paying $3 a month for that kind of shit, guys. Every week you're getting new content like that, so you can afford $3 a month. I know you can. I know you can. I know you can afford $3 a month. I'm not saying get the $12 level, even though it's the best value. I'm saying $3 damn a month. I feel like I'm doing a pledge drive on PBS, and I kind of am. But $3 a month is easy to do. Anyway, enough of the pledge and back to the drinking. Oh, Mike Halliday says he bets a cast strength Pete could break him on through the other side. We'll get the doors. We'll get some Jim Morrison going and get you a cast strength peated whiskey. I've got a couple of them. The Obtainium will singe your nut hairs off. Oh, Bourbon Baller. Oh, man. Steve says, snorting a line of whiskey. I'd love to see that. Yeah, you do need to get a bottle of this stuff, Trev. This stuff is fantastic. Super citrusy. Love the fruit. I mean, it's alcohol forward, but I'm not bothered by it at all. What up, Mark? Mark in the chat. Mark knows I didn't actually. Mark knows an April Fool's joke when he sees it. The sweetness on this is just phenomenal. Like, I'm not a big MGP person, but something about this particular pour just hits right for me. It's so sweet. I'm trying to think if I can break down what kind of sweetness it is. It's like light corn syrup. We used to have light corn syrup in the house for cooking. It's like light corn syrup. And then it has, like I've already said, the citrus and the berries. Bourbon Baller wants me to follow that with the Alberta Premium. I can do that. It's really beautiful because not just because I like the profile, but it really takes you on a journey. Like this Obtainium, first taste, it's sweet. The grain is pretty prominent, but it's not astringent. It's not new makey at all. It's had 14 years in a barrel, so it better fucking not be. Mid palate gives you this very slight oakiness, which is interesting in the mid palate for a light whiskey. And then this black pepper comes to play, and it sticks around, and it blends with this lemon zest and this citrus. Oh, such a beautiful presentation of highs and lows of this journey through a whiskey pour. Oh, it's got so much good going on. Mark just fresh cracked an Iron Root Harbinger, 131.8. I've been meaning to find myself a pour of that Harbinger. I want to do a review of that shit. I don't think I've got one. I need to check my sample log, but I don't think I've got a Harbinger. Oh, wait, maybe I do. You know what? Somebody sent me one. Matter of fact, that might have been Mike McAllister in the chat. He might have sent me a Harbinger. He did send me some Iron Root. I'll have to check. If he sent me that, I might do that. I might make that my next video. I might have to jump on that one. Mark says he's got me. Well, we'll talk again, Mark. Mark and I chat enough that I'll let you know, Mark, if I've got that or not. Matter of fact, I may have to go check that. If I'm actually getting this Alberta pour, which is in the other room, I may have to take a quick intermission, and I'll have to check and see if I've got that Harbinger. I'll know right where it is if I've got it. Man, that's just beautiful, though. It does get a little bitter in the mid palate. The oak is a little bit bitter. It's not really astringent, but it's bitter. So if you just can't do bitter at all, it's worth remembering that. All right, I'm not done with this pour, but I'm gonna grab the Alberta really quick so I can do a side by side. So y'all stick around. Give me 30 seconds here. Just be patient with me. I can't play music anymore. Ooh, get the hiccups. I can't play music anymore when I leave. I got copyright clicks for that. They didn't like that shit. So just play music in your own head. Okay. Now, while I was out there, I checked for the Harbinger, and I saw 2 Iron Roots, but they were very poorly labeled. Very poorly labeled. Now, luckily, I've got a spreadsheet on my phone that tells me what samples I have, which ones I've tried, which ones I still have to try. And so I can pull that up without too much trouble and figure out what's going on. I was right that Mike McAllister did send me Iron Root, and he sent me, okay, so he did. He sent me 2 different Iron Roots. One was the Harbinger, whatever it is. The Iron Root Harbinger. Now I'm stuck on this. Harbinger. It is Harbinger. Well, Mark wrote Harbinger. Either I'm wrong or Mark's wrong. It doesn't matter. He brought me one of those that's the XC and one that's the Magic Mana. The XC was 45 proof, 45%, and the Magic Mana was 61.3%. Okay, I wrote it wrong. Mark, I need to get that sample from you, buddy, because then I can do all 3 of them at the same time, and that'd be a fucking awesome video. And that way Mike knows I still got him. I still got him, Mike. Michael McAllister, always checking out the chat. I appreciate you, my brother. He's a member of the Patreon. You should be too. I'm going to take down this ticker because you've seen it enough. But, you know, yeah, I'd love to get a pour of that. I didn't forget about you, Mike. I got your samples, brother. What am I doing? Why am I looking at my phone? It's got to stop that shit. Those things are addictive, man. More addictive than the whiskey. And whiskey's already addictive enough for me. Okay. Let me rinse out one of these glasses here. And we will get going on the side-by-side between the light whiskey from Obtainium and the Alberta Premium. The Alberta Premium is a rye. The Obtainium is a light whiskey, obviously. The Alberta Premium is coming in at 100 and what is it? 22, 32? Well, this is the 65.1% one, which means that it's 130.2 proof. And this light whiskey from Obtainium is 138.9 proof. So they're relatively close in proof. It's that good soft LaCroix water. LaCroix water. All right. They're both about half empty, too. The bottles are pretty close to the same fill level, which is nice. That just makes the comparison a fair one in my mind. Okie dokie. All right. Mark sent me a message on Facebook. I think Mark's making this happen. Oh, there we go. I love it. He sent me the, Harbinger. Now, Harbinger. Interesting. Iron Root. Anyway, gotta move the bottle so I can see the chat. Is Iron Root a lot better than Garrison Brothers? It's the only Texas whiskey I've ever had. You know, there's a lot of different Texas whiskeys out there. They all share certain qualities, but they all have a lot of uniqueness. There are some good Texas whiskeys out there, I'll tell you that for sure. I've got a Balcones extra aged corn whiskey that's really phenomenal. Just depends on what you like. But there are some good Texas whiskeys out there for sure. A lot of Texas whiskey gets a bad rep because it's so young. And part of that's because to be able to make older Texas whiskey that isn't just chewing on a barrel stave, you need to have big fucking rickhouses. And most of the Texas whiskey is being made by small distillers who can't afford to build big fucking rickhouses. So they sell their young distillate that's still super fucking dark. It's dark as night. It's very oak forward because the climate in Texas is so hot and then gets cold at night. There's tons of movement. The reason that matters so much as opposed to just the climate is that if it's just hot all the time, it's not going to age the same way. But to have the heat and then move to the cold, it contracts and expands the wood, which allows in the whiskey and the alcohol and the ethanol and all the esters from the wood get soaked in to that alcohol. So the deeper it goes into the wood and the more frequently it makes that journey, the quicker it ages, which is why small barrels age quicker. And it's also why big temperature fluctuations lead to more aging in the whiskey. It's the reason that your relatively temperate climate in Scotland can lead to 30-year-old whiskeys that taste pretty good and taste pretty mild compared to even a 15-year-old bourbon that's been through a significant back and forth, in and out process. It's the reason that when you take MGP and you age it in the desert a la Smoke Wagon, you get such deep, strong, rich, sometimes overpowering flavors. All right, that rant's over. I'm so passionate about this. Can you believe people thought I was going to quit this? People thought I wasn't going to keep doing this channel. Happy April Fool's Day, guys. Let's drink some fire water here. Aquavita. This is not Aquavita because it's aged. Oh, interesting. So, man, these noses couldn't be more different. Bourbon Baller's not a fan of Texas whiskey. Tastes like soap and plastic, very synthetic. I've had some that taste like that. There is a Texas funk in some of it. There is no substitute for time, at least not one we've discovered yet. Speaking of plastic, though, I'll tell you what, when you compare side by side the Alberta Premium with the light whiskey, the super sweet like spoiled clementine rye. How's that for a note? It tastes like overripe clementines and rye grain with honey on top of both of them. But when you smell that and then you go back to the light whiskey, ooh, almost dropped that glass again. Like the light whiskey has a definite ethanol note now. It's a little bit plasticky. It's very subtle, and you know, you keep nosing it for a while, and it goes away pretty quick, and then it becomes a lot more of that lemon meat and the these sort of light berry notes, a hint of strawberry, definitely lemony more than anything else. There's a little bit of ethanol still. The ethanol is just not going to go away in this one, because it's a light whiskey. In part, light whiskey, you know, because it's got the higher entry proof. It's got more of the flavor stripped out of it during the distilling process. It's going to have a lighter flavor, even if it spends more time on oak. It's just part of why people started making light whiskey. I am glad that some of that MGP light whiskey didn't go into normal light whiskey distribution and became this older, more aged light whiskey that third parties were able to buy out and sell as NDPs. Although Cat's Eye does make their own distillate, I think. I don't think they're strictly an NDP, although they do a lot of sourcing. Anyway, you know, I'm happy that this had a chance to develop, because I think light whiskey gets a bad rep as being like less than flavorful bourbon or less flavorful American whiskey, and there's something unique and all its own about this. Like, it's got a beautiful like caramel, not really caramel, like high fructose corn syrup mixed with lemon meat. And I keep saying lemon meat, I can't help it. It's the fleshy part of the lemon, not the lemon zest, which is so commonly a note. But it's lemon. It's that interesting sharpness of a high proof whiskey, the slight ethanol. I got it in my mustache. But then you come back to the Alberta, you spend a lot of time with the light whiskey, you come back to the Alberta, and the rye is overpowering. So just like when I went from the Alberta to the light whiskey, I got this plasticine note. When I went from the light whiskey after a while back to the rye, it's almost like too grainy. The rye grain is so damn sharp and strong. It's just like putting your nose in a barrel of rye grains. Or like rye bread. And then it's only after time that the fruit notes, the strawberry, comes out to play. And the sweetness becomes more prominent. And those like interesting overripe tangerines or clementines show up. Alright, I'm going to taste the light whiskey from Obtainium, and then I'm going to taste the Alberta Premium. We'll do them side by side and see how it goes. Yeah, it's interesting that there's like this distinct plasticky note that shows up on the right off the bat. It goes away pretty quick, but at the beginning of the palate it shows up. That's never showed up for me before. I think putting it next to a high proof Canadian rye is really fucking with it. All right, let's now taste the Alberta Premium. A lot more depth of flavor. The oakiness is definitely more prominent. The astringency on the oak is a lot more prominent, which is interesting because this Alberta Premium, I don't believe it's age stated, but it's certainly a lot more oaky than a much older whiskey. That's the power of light whiskey, my man. Alberta 132 is very highly ranked on Breaking Bourbon this week. And, you know, I've done a video. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. The Alberta 132 compared to this 130.2. I like this one a lot better. It's just less traditional of a rye. There's a lot more going on. The 132, to me, drank a lot more like a classic rye, like almost like a Willet-style rye. They're similar. I mean, we're still in like the 5% difference category, but I far preferred this one. I was glad I got this one from Canada. Yeah, and then see, after you take some time away from it, you come back to the Alberta Premium. A lot of those deep richnesses, not a word, but a lot of the deep richness is less common. It doesn't stick around as much. I get some really fun like apple tart hints on the finish that are just like whispers. They come and go. It's got a lot going on. It's very complex. It's very tasty. There's almost a hint of like grape as well. I don't know if Alberta's taken advantage of that 9.09 rule in Canada or not. They could be throwing some cognac or some shit in there. Who knows? Steve makes a good point. Never judge a whiskey by its color. Look at a lot of the Islay whiskeys, light color but strong flavor. You're right. I mean, and you know, knowing what is going on with the whiskey's process is critical. You can make a whiskey as dark as night, but if it's done wrong, it's going to be garbage. Color is not everything. But that being said, color along with knowing the process is meaningful. If you see a whiskey that's very light and it was supposed to be like have its whole life aged in sherry barrels, for example, sherry casks, probably didn't spend a lot of time in those sherry casks. It's probably a young whiskey. And a young whiskey in a sherry cask, you start to build expectations on those things. So although I say I agree, never judge a whiskey by its color, I would say never judge a whiskey only by its color. Color is an important factor, though, when you know what the process is and you know how that affects the pour. All right, let's do one more side by side on these. There it is. Yeah, doing back and forth a couple of times, now that light whiskey is really starting to shine. All those interesting, bright notes are starting to come up. Ooh, and see, I like the, there's like this sweet, hot grain on the finish that I really like a lot. I think it's probably something a lot of people don't like, to be honest. The finish on this light whiskey is hot, but it's hot in a fun way for me. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Bourbon Baller says, color, leg, smell are usually a giveaway for me on what it tastes like. 2 of the 3 are important. Yeah, I think you can learn a lot from those different qualities. Smell is major for Trev. Smell is 80% of taste, they say. Man, the more I get into this Alberta Premium, the more I'm getting like almost a banana bread vibe. Sweet baking spice, hint of like overripe banana. I could live in that nose. There's a little dead air. The finish on this is very long. I think the finish on the Alberta Premium is meaningfully longer than the finish on the light whiskey. And there's a lot of people out there who really value a long finish, and they like an oaky finish, and they like the complexity and the coming and going of some of these whiskeys. William says, late to the party, so here, sorry if it's already been asked, but the title here, clickbait, or are you really leaving YouTube? The title, I mean, is it clickbait? Yeah, kinda, but it was really an April Fool's joke, William. I would highly recommend you watch the first 15 minutes of this stream when it gets posted again on YouTube, because in the first 15 minutes I do lay out and kind of set the stage for the prank, but I also do a really fun review of 5 different waters. And it's not a bullshit review. I legitimately review these 5 different waters based on nose, based on taste, and compare them to each other. It's worth watching, in my humble opinion. Not so humble opinion. So I'm still going to be around. You can't get rid of me that quick. He figured as much. Yeah, you know, it's the date, April 1st. You gotta do some bullshit on it. Yeah, this is right up Trevor's wheelhouse. He says, oak and long finish, sign me up. Trevor loves those long oaky finishes. Trevor loves some long oak. You got long oak, let Trevor know. He's all about it. I think the reason I like the 65.1 better than the 66.0, 65.1, it's baking spice and bready and sweet, like light brown sugar. Mid palate, you start to get that oakiness. Then it kind of goes away and you get pepper and sweetness again, like honey and pepper. And then that goes away and you get back to the oakiness. Super long finish, but also it's not that rye grain forward. Like if you do it side by side with this light whiskey, yeah, the rye grain shows the fuck up. But like if you're coming into this Alberta Premium at the 65.1, expecting rye, you're not going to get it. You're going to get this like very bourbon-esque experience. And I think for me, that's not always like the rye grain is not always great on rye. Too much rye is overpowering for me and not my favorite. So yeah, there's that. Trevor the corn daddy. Although it might be rye daddy in this case. But yeah, you know, I think the fact that it doesn't drink like a traditional rye really attracts me to the Alberta Premium Cast Strength Rye. The 65.1 more than the 66.0. The 66.0 drinks a little bit more like a traditional rye. It's very good. Don't get me wrong, it's very good. But what drew me into the 65.1 doesn't draw me in as much as the 66.0. Let's go back to this light whiskey for a moment here. Trevor's getting hot and bothered. Yeah, but see that light whiskey, man, it's sweet. It's spicy. It's got a little ethanol, but not too much. So much citrus. It's got some ginger too. I didn't bring that up yet. The ginger is a note I have yet to mention. There is definitely ginger in that light whiskey. They're so different. Like it's a weird side by side to do, but I really like them both. So I'm not mad at all about doing that side by side. They're just, you know, it's a tale of two cities, man. It's two totally different pours. You know what? I want to get a little bit of this. I don't know why it's not focusing. Focus on this fucking thing. Oh, you almost did it. You can see what that is, right? I don't know why. Why won't you focus for me, webcam? All right. We're going to drink a little bit of this, which I know is a bad idea after drinking all this cast strength. You know what? Let me stop myself. Stop myself. Not be an idiot. I'm going to get a small pour of a step down whiskey because both of those are like 130 plus proof. I can't jump from that to the sloppy. Let me get a step down whiskey, clear my palate, clear my mind, clear my thoughts, get my full Buddhist monk going, and then hitter time. So, I know what I'm going to get. Ow, motherfucker. Oh. Oh. So I spun around quickly to go get another bottle, and I slammed my ankle into the fucking mini barrel over here. Oh, god damn it, that hurt. Oh. Herbenballer almost called that shit, man. He almost called it. I'm going Michter's American. It's a low proofer. Mike, oh come on, like you didn't know your mustache is all about saving stuff for later. So, Michter's American, 41.7. 41.7. That is about as low as you're going to get out of any whiskey tuber and be like, oh yeah, that's a respectable pour. 40% is the dead bare minimum in the U.S., by the way. You can't call it whiskey and have it... I am having a rough night, man. You can't call it whiskey and have it at 40, lower than 40%. So 41.7 is fucking close to bare minimum. But there's something about the Michter's American that just hits right for me. It's like cotton candy. And, you know, Bourbon Baller is right. I fucking love Michter's 10-year bourbon. I love it. I've had it 4 different times. I've got a bottle I still haven't opened yet. I'm going to save it for a special occasion. But I've had it 4 different times, and every time I've reconfirmed my love for it. William asks, what Stag Junior batches are behind me? I'll tell you the proofs, and you can find out what the batches are. So one is 126.4. And the other is 128.4. 64.2% and 63.2%. So you can Google those if you'd like to find out the batches. I've had 4 different batches that I've owned. I've actually tried all 15 batches and done reviews on all of them. You can see the individual reviews on Patreon. I did a stream with 1 through 14. I did a video of number 15 with a couple other comparisons. So those are all available on the channel. You're welcome to check them out. Like I said, every single one is an individualized video on Patreon. Gotta plug the Patreon, guys. $3 a month is not gonna break your bank. Come on, help brother out. Anyway, they're good. I like them. I do think the 15 is fucking fire, though. The Stag Junior 15 is something I need to get my hands on. I need a bottle of that. Anyway, back to this American Michter's. The American Michter's really just hits right for me. Like, this thing is just beautiful. Bourbon. Whoa, something just happened. Oh, shit. Okay. What's going on? We're going to close that. I hope my stream is working fine because I just had some crazy shit pop up. I think we're okay, though. We'll keep an eye on it. But this thing is just... Yeah, Bourbon Baller, though, he drank 8 2-ounce pours and had a hard time walking. Bourbon Baller, I don't remember if you were there or not, which is not a good sign, but it tells you the state I was in. You should check out, if you haven't already, my 14 Stag Junior pour live stream, because it was a shit show. Mike Halliday says, fun to see you get in the zone on these ladder pours. Yeah, it's not something I can do a lot of the times because, you know, I probably have had more whiskey than I should have tonight. But there's something fun about it because you're right. I get just laser focused in. My ADHD kicks in, which people assume ADHD just means like you can't focus on anything. It's not true. It's an alternation. You either can't focus at all or you focus laser in and you're just like, yes, I know what I want. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. So here we go. Oh, yeah, the Michter's American. I get light honey. I get like honeycomb. There's a slight bitterness that comes with honeycomb that's not in regular honey, or like clover honey, if you've ever had clover honey, which is bees that have been pollinating with clovers, and they bring some flavor notes from the clover back to the honeycomb. Fucking cool stuff, man. Oh. You do have to cut loose sometimes, I agree. You know, this just, like, if you ask somebody who's never had a pour of whiskey in their entire life, what is whiskey supposed to smell like? I'd be hard pressed to grab a whiskey that was like, let me formulate this thought before I just say it. Trev is 6 ounces in on the foolproof 1792. William's right. You gotta when you just live stream it, it's just a stream of consciousness. You know, Ironically, a lot of people that do live streams, they feel almost compelled, I think, to have like other people on the streams. And I hope to do more streams with other people in the future. I really do like doing live streams with other people, but there's something that I really enjoy about getting on here and just ranting hard. Like, if I come on here, it's just me and I gotta fill dead air, man, I can talk like a motherfucker and just keep going. And I kind of enjoy doing it sometimes. Sometimes it's exhausting, and sometimes I'd really like to have somebody to bounce things off of. But sometimes I'm just like, yeah, man, I'm gonna get on there and rant. And tonight is one of those nights for sure. But what I was getting at before is, you bring an alien down to Earth who's never had whiskey in their life, and they say, what is whiskey? What is whiskey supposed to smell like? What is whiskey supposed to taste like? I haven't tasted it yet, but I'd be hard-pressed to find another whiskey, with one exception, maybe Buffalo Trace. But either Buffalo Trace or Michter's American, I'm like, this is what whiskey is supposed to smell like. This shit smells the way whiskey should smell. It's beautifully delicate and yet complex. It's got that wonderful, like I said, the clover honey, very slightly herbal, very slightly floral, like a very gentle honeysuckle. I honestly get some floral notes on this as well. Like, oh shit, what is it? It's not geranium. Nate's asleep, but it's not geranium. Like a daffodil, maybe? Or a tulip, maybe tulip. And then this beautiful, very gentle cinnamon. And then I get a lot of strawberry. And a slight, maybe like cherry pie, a little bit of bread, a little bit of cherry, like a sweet cherry, not a sour cherry. Just so much. Oh, I spilled it all over the place. Uh-oh. That one got on the floor. You know, this is a rental and this is carpet, so I gotta get that whiskey out of the carpet. Oh, no. I'm gonna hit it with some of this water over here. Hit a little with distilled water. Oh, boy, we're making a mess on the live stream. There we go. That's good enough for jazz. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm glad you're sticking around. I got 7 of you fuckers still sticking around watching me be an idiot. But that Lot B is coming up soon. I'm going to pour that Lot B before the end of this night. So for those, like, 13 people that were here, I mean, I think I had 20 or 22 at the max. For those 15 people that aren't here right now, you're going to miss out. You're going to miss the Van Winkle Lot B 2015. It's coming. It's coming. But first, let me get into this Michter's American. I mean, just such an underrated pour. And this is available. You can find this shit. If you haven't had this, go buy a bottle. Do yourself a favor. Go buy a bottle of Michter's American. Make it the first pour of the night, because it's a gentle, it's low proof, it's gentle. So don't try to follow up the hitters like I'm fucking doing right now. Slightly grain, slightly sweet, slightly fruity. Soft nuttiness in the mid palate. Everything is soft. It's low proof. Everything is soft. But it's got the sweetness. It's got the grain. It's got the fruit early on. The mid palate's got a slight nuttiness and a slight oakiness. The finish is actually very long for something this proof. If you can find a whiskey that's under 43%, that's got a longer finish than that, fucking send it to me. I don't believe it. That thing has a finish that's it's at least 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. Like, that's such a long finish for such a low proof. But then it finishes. This is something else I like. This might be controversial, but I like the fact that this finishes to nothing. And by that I mean there are a lot of whiskeys out there that the finish kind of lingers and lingers, but it doesn't disappear entirely. It stays in your mouth, and sometimes, I would say, a lot of times, it finishes to a negative. It finishes in an unpleasant way, in a bitterness, in a pepperiness that I don't particularly like lingering in my mouth, which makes you go back for another pour. This thing finishes into nothing. It disappears into the horizon like a fucking ship sailing off into the distance, and I love it. That's what I want from a whiskey. Trevor's hitting that 1792 hard because it's tasting good tonight. Trevor said he's only had Michter's American with my buddies I drink with. I never bought a bottle. It was good. Not sure why I don't own one. Nate would say I am too high class for it, maybe. Maybe you are, man, but like I feel like this is a great starting point. Mike says, what the hell is that glowing on the camera stand over your right shoulder? I assume this is what he's referring to. The glowing thing is actually just part of the stand, but what's on top of it here, right there, is it was a birthday present from Yolanda. It is a little monitor, and it makes it much easier when I'm filming videos. You can see back there, there's the general camera stand, but I put the camera on the camera stand, and then I can't see myself because I'm standing over here. And so, like, lining up the shots and making sure that the camera's still running and everything's working the way it's supposed to is very difficult when I can't see the viewfinder and I can't see the screen. So this stand is, now I'm able to, monitor myself while I'm shooting these videos. And it's actually helped. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the last couple of videos have looked a lot better. And part of the reason is because I was able to pick out where the lighting wasn't working right. I've changed my lighting setup slightly for the main videos. The live streams I've changed a little bit too, but the lighting for the main videos I've changed a little bit, and it's really helped out. So, big shout out to Yolanda for that very valuable pickup. Oh, there we go. We got 10 people coming back. People are coming back because they know the Van Winkle Lot B is on the horizon. I know you guys want to see me drink this shit, so stick around so you can watch me drink this shit. But man, Michter's American. It just hits different. Last December, when I drank every Michter's product I could get my hands on, which was pretty much everything except the Celebration Sour Mash and the 25 year. I think I had literally every other pour that Michter's produces. The Michter's American way overperforms. It just does. Like, for me, I think it beat out every other pour in the standard lineup. It beat the bourbon, it beat the rye, it beat the Sour Mash. It's too low proof to compete against things like Michter's 10 Bourbon. The toasted weren't my favorite. They just weren't. I was like, meh. Trevor answered for William there, yeah. But the Michter's American just overperforms every time. All right, I'm talking this up a lot. I got a little bit left. I'm gonna finish this, and then we're going into the Van Winkle Lot B from 2015. I did a video with this already, but I still got a lot left. You guys want me to kill that tonight? Should I kill that tonight? Let me know in the chat. And if you're not subscribed, fucking subscribe already. Join me. Join the channel. Subscribe. Click that little button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. It'll help me out so much to get to 1,000 subs. I'm terrible at self-promotion, even though I do it all the time, so click that subscribe button. Oh, Mike Halliday's got an unopened bottle of Stag Junior 15. Mike. What are you doing with that shit, man? What are you going to do with it? I'm just going to keep that same glass because... Uh-oh, I'm out of water. Oh, no. Oh, no, I'm not. Got that distilled. We're going to clean this glass out. Then we're going to fill it with Lot B. Lot B. I still don't see anybody in the chat saying I should kill that sample. If you don't tell me to, I won't. I'll save some for later. But if you do tell me to, I will. Oh, yeah. I'm very thankful. I'm going to take a quick pause from the nonsense. There it is, Trevor. I'm going to take a quick pause from the nonsense to just say, like, I got 10 people right now in the chat. Solid Smoke 15. I have an almost empty bottle of Stag 14. Stag 14 is solid too, man. The most recent Stags have been stepping up. I really like what they're doing. So thanks for joining Solid Smoke 15. I haven't seen that handle before. Now, I haven't always been paying the best of attention, but I appreciate you joining, my brother. Foam Doctor, there he is. He says kill it. Joe Brown, what's Bourbon Baller drinking tonight or flexing? I think he was talking about that tornado. So, quick, before I drink this very sexy Van Winkle Lot B 2015, which I am going to kill. I had several people tell me to kill it, so I'm going to kill it. I just want to say thank you, like, sincerely. I've got 11 people right now in this video in the chat. I've been doing this for 2 hours and 20 minutes about. I appreciate so much every single one of you guys watching this. Now I got 12. Honestly, it means the world to me. Like, having people that were willing to sit with me and drink with me and hang out for these kind of streams and chat up, you know, be active in the live chat. Like, it means the world to me because I have so much fun talking this bullshit. I have so much fun drinking with you guys. Like, it's kept me sane during COVID. It means it's just great. It's just great. So thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. You know, the joke about this whole video was like, oh, I'm gonna leave YouTube. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. And honestly, like, there have been some hard times. Like, it's been a hard year for everybody, and my mental health has suffered a lot. I'm starting to get better, and part of that process is like understanding what I need and being able to ask for what I need and being able to pay attention to things that I had a hard time focusing on in the past. And one of those things that I'm starting to understand is that I have to be able to, you know, find that self-value and you know, put myself as a priority, and you know, love myself and value myself and respect myself, but also not to pretend that I don't value the input from others. Like, I do get a lot of positivity from this kind of interaction with people. Like, this makes me feel better. It makes me happy to talk with you guys. And I think there's a balance, you know. I can't derive all my self-worth from people on the internet. That's toxic as fuck. It really is. And a lot of people do that. Matter of fact, a lot of people get started in this business from doing that. Like, a lot of internet-tainers, stealing that term from Rhett and Link, but a lot of internet-tainers started because they derive their self-worth from the internet and from other people's opinions. That's toxic as fuck. But I think it's also important to recognize that I value the input of you guys. Like, this is important to me. And so finding a happy medium is what life is all about. That's my philosophy lesson. That's my Buddhist monk lesson for the night. Now let's drink some fucking Van Winkle, eh? Chat's blowing up. Let's see what's going on here. A lot of people trying to get that Stag Junior. Bourbon Ball drinking that M20. It's William. Gotta hand it to you. 2 hours of drinking bourbon straight isn't easy on a live video. Yeah, man, tell me about it. Solid Smoke. Can't find ECBP in New York. Yeah, that shit's getting harder to find. People are swiping it up. Yeah, everybody's trying to get that Stag Junior 15, Trev. Like, I got dibs if Mike finds one. Oh, man. William slurring his words. Don't worry, brother. We all are. Trevor, Victor 20 is my unicorn. I know it is. I gotta find Trevor one of those. 15's time has passed. No, Mike, you keep me in mind if you find that. I'll share with Trevor. I'll share. I appreciate you, Trev. Trev says there are a lot of people out here that respect and love you. We're here for you. I appreciate that, my man. I really do. You know, this community is a great group of people. I am not great at what do I want to say? I am learning how to interact in a healthy way. Too many bourbons. Okay. I'm learning to interact in a healthy way with my emotions, and part of that is understanding, appreciating, and reciprocating those feelings of love and respect. It's been a process, but I'm getting there, guys. Now I'm gonna drink. I promise it's gonna happen. I had to deal with all this mushy shit first. Now I'm gonna drink this Lot B. I'm gonna kill it, in fact. And before I finish this, I need to give a big shout out, because the guy who brought me this, I want to say his name is Mike, but you know, I'm gonna fucking find his name and say it on the air, because big fucking shout out, because he didn't need to give me this. Brad, I knew it was a 4-letter name. Brad King. Big shout out to Brad King for providing me with this sample. I reached out in a local group about trying to do a line of all the Van Winkle products, and I was very lucky to be able to do that line. Shout out to Dusty Dan for giving me that 23, which is the hardest to get, but I wasn't even going to try to find the Lot B again because I already had a sample. I didn't want to feel greedy, and Brad King went out of his way to say, hey, I've got this. Do you need this? And I said, yeah, I don't have that. He said, I'll bring it to you, and he brought it to my house. I didn't have to go get it. He brought it to me. And I've been following that dude on Facebook. He's just the nicest guy. Like, that's the kind of people we want in the bourbon community. So, big fucking shout out. Big fucking shout out to Brad King. I appreciate you, my brother. Keep doing what you do. Dude's doing cool stuff. He actually just posted, this is totally unrelated, but he actually just posted on Facebook. They're doing a lot of construction in downtown Indianapolis right now, and he posted a bunch of pictures and then some maps showing that they're currently pulling the rails out from underneath the pavement because historically Indianapolis actually had a rail car system, a tram system, where you would have cars next to these actual like railed trolley cars, and they're pulling them out of the out of the street right now, but I didn't have any idea about that. And so like seeing these pictures of these rusted rails being pulled out of the asphalt was just so fucking cool. And I was like, man, I'm so glad that dude was there and taking photos of this stuff. Like, just shit like that. He's paying attention. He's plugged in. I love seeing that. I love seeing people that are plugged into the world. Yeah, we got a lot of love in the chat. I love seeing it. I can't help the sensitivity. Bourbon Baller knows. I always get on these. You get a couple whiskeys in me, I get pretty sappy pretty quick. I either go full political and start talking politics, which I shouldn't be fucking doing, or I get real sappy. You get enough pores in me, and it's going one of those directions. I'm gonna get philosophical, I'm gonna get political, or I'm gonna get sappy. I gotta go one of those ways, man. I go to my passions. I go to what I feel. Trev says, Lot B. Come on, Pappy, 15 is where it's at. Comes from a guy who hasn't tried Lot B and only has a sample of 15. 15 is where it's at. I mean, I don't know. I did them blind, and I pulled the 23 as my favorite. I don't remember if that was a Patreon stream or not. Regardless, Lot B was not my favorite, but coming back to it now, I'm curious because I've kind of been all over the place on my whiskey journey tonight. So it's going to be an interesting way to wrap things up here, which I probably will after this pour, because I've been on this kick for 2.5 hours. I mean, I don't have to work tomorrow, but nonetheless, I do got shit I gotta do. Oh, this is a beautiful nose, though. I do think this was a really good choice to follow up the Michter's American, because the Michter's American is low proof, but it's very, it's got that beautiful sweet fruitiness on the nose. And a lot of that comes through on this 2015 Lot B. Mike Halliday. Okay, excuse me while I get out an old pour of Pappy 15 to match up with the Lot B. Oh, man. I think Mike's bullshit and not flexing, Trev. I don't know, though. I try to be a real dude. I really do. I think a lot of people. All right, we're gonna throw a little shade here. I'm not gonna throw too much shade, just a touch of shade. A lot of people in the whiskey community, a lot of people in Whiskey Tube. Let me be clear. A lot of people on Whiskey Tube, a lot of people doing whiskey Instagrams are not real. And in that sense, I don't mean they're not literally people, but they're doing a lot more promotion. They're playing ad man for a lot of bourbon companies, a lot of whiskey companies. I don't think I've gotten any media samples from any distillery. I've gotten a lot of things from Joseph and Dave at Vine and Table, but I always disclose. I always say, hey, I've got the sample, and I'm not afraid to say when I don't like it. Same thing with Naptown Bourbon Club, although lately they've been blowing up, so they don't need me anymore. But I always disclose when they gave me a sample, and I'm not afraid to say I don't like it. And, if Cat's Eye sends me this care package that they say they will, I'm going to do the same thing. You got to be real. Got to be a real person. Got to be who you are. All right. Oh, that's so nice. Adam, I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate that. So Adam just said I rewound your live so I could catch every minute before I leave for work. Just wanted to say, please don't leave YouTube. You're my favorite critic, and your palate is surprisingly similar to mine. Do a slight bow. Thank you so much, Adam. I really appreciate that. That means a lot, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm not going anywhere. Although I might tease that I am, but I'm not. That made my night. Adam just made my night. I appreciate that, Adam. I mean, shameless plug, but Adam, you should seriously consider paying the $3 a month and getting on the Patreon. Like, although right now there are lots of reviews up there, there's lots of bonus content, in the near future there's going to be a significant increase in the amount of content going up on Patreon. Like, because of just the nature of this channel and the nature of how I've been making content, Patreon's going to become a much bigger repository for content. So, thank you so much, Adam. I really appreciate it, my man. But I gotta say, like, if you feel like my reviews are helpful, you're going to be able to find a lot more on Patreon in the very near future. In the next week or two, you're going to start seeing more and more content go up there. You know what really stands out to me? This lot B is 45%, so it's not nearly as far away from the American Michters as, say, the light whiskey from Obtainium from Cat's Eye or the Alberta Premium. It's pretty close. But there is so much more oakiness in the lot B. I mean, the lot B is 12-year age dated. Trevor's not wrong about that. Best value is at $12. That's where you can start to get some of the sampling kits. That's where the fucking value is, man. I put too much money into those kits. I give people good fucking whiskey. I might have lost some money the last time I did that shit. But I like sharing pours. I like being a part of the community, you know? Man. So, you know what? Let's do this. Let's side by side this, because I'm really enjoying this. I gotta rinse out this glass. I'm really enjoying this lot B, but like I can't help but try to compare it to this Michter's American. On paper, they're not that different in price. Remember, the MSRP of the lot B I think is under $100 still. I think. If it's not, it's very close to 100. And the Michter's American is what, at 40, 50, something like that? So, like, on paper, these are not that far apart. It's just the rarity of the Van Winkle drives the secondary prices up so high. But this is a pretty good apples to apples. Man, I got the hiccups now. This is a pretty good apples to apples comparison. Because we're talking about a 41.7% versus a 45%. So, yeah, I was sending, like, people, like, the last time I did a live stream, people got to try the Old Forester 150th. People aren't sending those samples out for nothing on YouTube. They're not doing that. Oh, that's so interesting. Uh-oh. Fuck, which one is which? Uh-oh. Oh, no. Shit. Which one? Okay. God damn it. Oh, no. Yeah, that Old Forester 150th was fire. God damn it. Oh, no. Which one is which? No! Oh, I wasn't paying enough attention. So the one in this rabbit hole glass is way oakier. That's got to be the Michter's. Which is ironic because I was just commenting about how much oak I was getting in the lot B compared to the Michter's, but then when I smell them, the Michter's smells so much oakier. The Michter's smells, oh yeah, that is. Okay. So the Michter's smells oakier, but it also smells a lot breadier. The Michter's smells like banana bread. Whereas the, sorry about that, the Van Winkle Lot B, it's, I mean, yeah, you can tell it's Buffalo Trace. You really can. Like it's got that sweet honey, definitely blueberry. You know what it smells like? It smells like a Pop-Tart. If you ever had like the strawberry or blueberry Pop-Tarts, yeah. It's that artificial sweet berry filling. That's the nose on this Lot B. 2015 Lot B, by the way. Shout out Brad King again. Oh. 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 I mean, tell you what, doing this side by side, it makes it clear the difference in the value and why the Van Winkle is so much more expensive. As much as I, oohed and awed over the American Michter's after drinking those fucking heat pours from Alberta and Cat's Eye, when you smell it side by side against a Van Winkle, you understand why the Van Winkle is so much more expensive. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. It's almost like a... well, I mean, I use the filling example from the Pop-Tart. Like, that's fucking sweet as hell. Like, I think that's a very clear example. But it's almost like the icing on top and the fruit filling. It's so much sugar. It's fruit and sugar. Whereas the Michter's American, it's a lot more complex, actually, in some ways. It's got the slight fruit and the slight honey. But it's also got this really distinct, slight cinnamon baking spice, definite breadiness, a slight banana note. In many ways, it kind of reminds me of the Brown Foreman, the Old Forester stuff. All right, let's taste this first. Yeah, it's so funny. I tasted the Van Winkle Lot B and smelled the Van Winkle Lot B and then go back to the Michter's American. And that breadiness and that slight banana note really show up. That's so interesting. Very light, slight corn syrup. Then I go back to this. Oh, now I'm getting deep fruits. Now I'm getting plums. Oh man, now I'm getting peaches and plums on the Lot B. My goodness. My goodness. A lot sweeter, a lot more complex, a lot more peppery and oaky on the finish. The Michter's finish does dissipate to zero, but the Lot B finish is so good. I mean, it's there. It finishes very long and it doesn't go away, but it's not bad. And that's what always kills it for me. When you get these whiskeys that have long finishes but that they aren't good, that just fucking kills it for me. This is not that. Thankfully. Mike Halliday. Oh man, fucking Pappy 15. I stored a couple of shots in a small wire-rimmed bottle with an old seal. I think the seal has fucked with the pour, but it blends well, I think, with the Pappy funk. Glad you're enjoying the Pappy 15, Mike. It's a tasty pour, no question. Got a video on all of the Van Winkle bourbons side by side. Although I got a Van Winkle rye sample coming. Mike would generously provided me some of that, so I got to try that in the near future. But I got to get down to Kentucky. Next time I'm heading down, well, you know what? Fuck that. I got to plan a time to come visit Mike. We got to meet up somewhere and have a couple pours, because I can't just say next time I'm coming down, because that ain't planned yet. I don't make it down there unless I got a plan. So let's make a plan. I've been on here for 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's almost 11 o'clock. We're losing viewers. That's okay. When you chew it, when you chew the Lot B, the fruit comes out. It's kind of fun to do this side by side with the American Michter's, because like they're very different pours. And they're only like 4% apart. But going back to that Michter's American, it feels so light. It feels like, first off, mouthfeel. It's much thinner. Much thinner. Um, Mike, I'm a lot of things, but I'm not ain't real. No, I know you're as real as they come, Mike. I figured that out very quickly, my man. Um, um, yeah, that Michter's American is just, it's very light. It's good. It's very light. Like the fact that it can even kind of hold its own to the lot B is saying something. It's got a much thinner mouth feel. It's a much lighter pour. It's got a lot of sweetness. It's got a slight berry note. It does finish to nothing. It doesn't have any of the oakiness. The Van Winkle Lot B has a lot more complexity for sure. It's still pretty gentle though. I mean, honestly, like it's got more nuttiness mid palate into the finish. It goes from the fruity sweetness, slight like pie notes into this nuttiness, which then immediately switches to oakiness. Yeah, strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, honey, clover honey, almond, walnut. Then you get this very light toasted oak. Then you get some black pepper into a slightly more astringent oak, like a bogged oak. It doesn't ever really get dry. And then it kind of quietly dissipates. And then you're left with sort of this wet oak on the palate with just a hint of black pepper. Man, that's a good pour. That's a good pour, guys. That's worth the price of admission. Oh, well, I didn't anticipate a lot of what ended up happening tonight, but I'm glad it did. I had a blast with you guys. The Van Winkle Lot B is dead. I done killed it. I'm not mad about it at all. It was a very tasty pour. I got a couple of videos, maybe 3 videos out of it, so that's pretty solid. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I am glad I'm not canceling the channel. I'm not going anywhere. I will probably keep the title the same. I may add a description in the future so that people who are looking through things can come find these reviews and see what I'm actually doing on this stream instead of just going, what the fuck? He's said he's leaving and he's not leaving? I don't know. We'll see how I feel. I might change it. I might not. I will definitely say keep an eye out because... well, I'll just tell you now. There's not a lot of people on the stream now, but thank you all for being here. But I'm gonna be moving from 2 videos a week to 1. I'll be releasing a video tomorrow, but I'm moving to 1 video a week because the editing is just overwhelming. It really is. I'm not a quick video editor. I'm a perfectionist. It takes me a lot of time to edit videos, and with the end of COVID, I'm finally being able to go outside and go places, and I don't want to bog myself down with doing 2 videos a week because it takes more time than you would think it does. It really does. And I can't afford to pay an editor to make more than 1 video a week. Now, if you join the Patreon and if more people do that kind of thing, then I will be able to hire an editor and be able to make more than shit. I could probably make 3 or 4 videos a week if I can hire an editor. But right now, I don't have that luxury, and so I'm going to do 1 video a week. And I'm going to do 1 live stream a week, probably Monday, Thursday, but I'll confirm that in my first release on that structured schedule. And my plan is to do a video on Monday, a live stream on Thursday, and then a Patreon exclusive unedited video that's going to release on Saturdays. So my plan right now is Monday, which will be released early for the patrons. So Sunday for the patrons, they'll get the video for the week. Monday for the average viewer. Then Thursday we'll do this kind of live stream like we're doing right now. Then Saturday we will do the Patreon exclusive release of an unedited review where I make no cuts. I don't edit it at all. And that was my way of saying, like, first off, I'm going to add value to the Patreon. It makes it worth it to be on the Patreon even more than it does right now. The $3 a month is nothing for the amount of content you're getting, honestly. Like, truthfully, I feel like I'm giving a hell of a value there. And it's going to make it easier for me because the biggest complaint I have is not doing 2 videos a week and a live stream. The problem is the editing. So if I can remove the editing from one of those videos, it'll make my life a lot easier. I think it's going to be a good thing. I think it's going to make all of this work a lot more easily. I really hope that more people will join the channel. They will consider joining the Patreon. I want to keep growing the channel, and I am going to try to focus on increasing content on other platforms. I've been paying a lot of attention to other content creators, other entertainers, people that make this kind of internet content. And one of the things that keeps coming back is avoiding reliance on one platform. And unfortunately, I have been relying pretty heavily on one platform, on YouTube. And I like YouTube, fine. But I think that the best way to continue to grow, not just grow the brand, but build a community. You know, I'm very community focused. I'm very engagement focused. Like, people that watch these reviews, they know who Bourbon Baller is. They know who Joe is. They know who Trevor is. They know who Mike is. Like, y'all are recurring people in this chat. And I think that, you know, whiskey drinkers want to find other whiskey drinkers. And I want to help facilitate that. So bringing in other platforms, I think, is a helpful way to do that. And I'll tell you guys right now, okay, I shouldn't be telling you this, but I'm going to tell you this anyway. I have finished aging the Dan Kidd's 2 O'Clock Chugs bottling. This is a 4 or 5 year MGP high rye mash bill that was picked by Dan Kidd at Heavy Bourbon on Instagram. He's pretty active there. He has a big following there. We're going to be doing a giveaway. I worked with Dan on this. We're going to be doing a giveaway of a barrel-aged version of that whiskey. That was in this little mini barrel that's full of water right now, but I've bottled the whiskey that was in there. We're going to be doing a giveaway in the near future. Keep your eyes out for that. No one else has heard anything about that except for like the initial teaser post that I did. You guys are the first ones to hear it, besides Dan himself, that whiskey is out of that barrel. It's in those bottles. It's ready. All I got to do is wax dip it. I love the idea of doing a wax dip, so I'm going to fucking do it. So we're going to wax dip those bottles, and then it will be given away for free. I'd be happy to have you on a stream, Bourbon Baller. We can make that work. So, yeah, we got a Discord that I'm going to be putting together in the near future as well. Trevor's right. Like, Discord's a great way to connect with people. It's a great way to facilitate chat and video and all kinds of things. So I think it's a great platform. I hope to make more use of it in the future. But, okay, I've given you guys enough state secrets. I've been doing this for 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm done. I'm checking out. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope that you will consider joining the Patreon. It really helps me out, guys. It's $3 a month for you. I know you can afford it, and it means so much to me. It's just such a value add, and you're not paying me a donation. You're getting stuff for that. So check out that bonus content. Please consider buying some merch. I got glasses for sale on the website, thedrinkpro.com. I got shirts. I got everything you need. If you're looking for something in particular, reach out to me. I'm available on every social media platform. The Drink Pro. That's where I'm at. Thank you so much. Keep drinking like professionals, guys. And keep hanging out and chatting like professionals. Keep engaging with each other like professionals. Let's keep this good feeling going into 2021. We're all getting vaccinated here in the near future. We're going to be talking to people and going places again. I can't fucking wait. All right, guys. I appreciate you all. Cheers.